Data is everything. It's the building blocks of our world. It's our environment, our technology, how we communicate, create, and innovate. A single data point won't move the needle. But the more data points we connect, the further we can go. Because it turns out, the best way to forecast the future is to build it. So we did, and this is that mark. Engineered to embody innovation and defy limitation. Harnessing the unknown to reveal the future. This is the new SanDisk.
And well, welcome back to the Northern League of Legends Championship. We're now heading on day 3 of Summer Split, and this is seeding stage. Teams are still fighting for their best position in order to jump into playoffs. My name is Alexandre Asharomaya. I will be your host for today. I'm not going to be alone though, because I do have a beautiful desk today to work with me. It's going to be Jamada and Aragon. Welcome back, both of you. You know each other really well.
We do. Hello. Yeah, I'm doing well. Jamada, how you doing, man?
Hello, my son.
You know, father.
Hiprain and I, we share custody of Aragon, and we've gone back and forth over the years.
They raised me from a wee pup, a wee
Exactly.
young babe, and this is the man I am now.
Good to know, I think. I didn't know that information. I know Hipran is always talking about you as his son or something like that, but hey, Jamada, welcome to the family, I guess. And it's going to be a beautiful day. We already had the seed day 1, where we had a few surprises. And with that in mind, let's show you where we ended up on day 1 and the results of that specific day as well.
Hey.
When we look into these, any surprises for both of you?
Put me on the spot. I think, honestly, the Bulldog games were surprising that even though they weren't wins, I think they did way better than expected. But other than that, not really. What about you, Jamada?
Yeah, I like the Bulldog call. I mean, for me, I think just the overall look of Rich Gang, I know they were obviously playing against, you know, on paper, significantly weaker opponents, but even in the way that they completely just pushed them to the side, I'm really excited for how they're going to shape up tomorrow against, obviously, the significantly higher rated opponents in that group. So
I think
that's really it for me.
For sure. In terms of results, maybe not really too many surprises, but definitely in terms of performances. Like Ruddy, I mean, you had Don Jake, I think, doing a little bit better than expected, and the same with Bulldogs.
Okay. But what we have for today is going to be the surprise. The teams that haven't faced each other yet will face each other, and by the end of today, Group 1 will be fixed. Sending you the schedule, as we're going to start up with DMG versus Los Ratonis, followed up by Verdant Light Side. Bulldogs will have to fight DMG, who are looking really, really hot. Los Ratones will then face the Verdant team. Another high anticipated game as
That's
previous
stacked.
split. It is, isn't it? How are you feeling
Los
about this
Ratonis
today?
versus Verdant is kind of crazy. I mean, the names on both rosters. I'm excited for that one. That's going to be a banger, I think. If the rosters are anything to go by, that's going to be a really interesting one, I think, for today. If you know, you know, I think.
I think that is kind of our marquee matchup of the day.
Yeah.
Curiously, I really want to see how Bulldog do against DMG, because I think there are a lot of very strong individual performers on DMG, but they didn't necessarily all pull through. And I think that will obviously be a very good benchmark, considering how well Bulldog did despite the results not going their way last week. Of, hey, like, can we at least get a win on the board here? Like, this feels like a good, at the very least, place to regain maybe some internal confidence, if any of it at all was knocked based on that first week.
Yeah, I think for sure we take a look at like the mid game teams and how they kind of they interact and clash. It definitely is a case of like the mid game teams in Bulldog and DMG, who is better and who's going to be like your 5th, 6th, and maybe 4th best team in the league. I think that's really what we're looking at right now.
When we visit Winter Split and we look into this one, saying that Bulldog might go into the lower bracket after seeding stage, it's a crime. So we have to see how they're going to perform today and if they're able to use this new roster. As we talk about this, we're talking about the teams. What about your predictions? Our team prediction, because we have a few surprises for today. We'll talk about it soon enough. I think the information came after predictions, so everybody's going for Los Ratones on the first one, Verdant for the second. There's some split, and then there's a surprise. Jamada and Initialize going for Verdant on the LR series. Is this just flavor for you, Jamada, or do you believe?
No, I believe. I think this Verdant team is very, very legit. Obviously, we know that Los Ratones are a little bit more than legit when it comes to the standards overall here domestically, but I do just kind of get a feeling that LR surely can't do the entire year undefeated when it comes to seeding stages. Right?
Surely.
This will be the one place where they trip up. I think that overall, especially the top side of the map for Verdant is really where I look between Bunker and SLT to effectively put Baus behind. And if, Devon and Tori's early laning phases or anything to go by, they should be able to hold their own versus Brownie and Reckless at the bare minimum.
No, not
It's
a
cap?
chance.
It's
Nah,
cap,
it's so
Aragon?
cap. It's so cap. you watch Verdant's games, they're so slow. I watch Verdant and their games go so late versus competition that should be a lot weaker than them, and just their general gameplay not taking so many opportunities when I feel like they can. It just feels slow to watch, and I don't think LR are gonna allow that. You know what I mean? Like I just think that LR are gonna roll them.
I don't think LR looked great last week. So hey, if they haven't sorted their stuff out, then I think it could very easily swing the Verdant way as well.
I would
Spicy.
love to see what
Spicy.
happens. Now I'm getting a little bit more curious here, Aragon. Now I'm getting a little bit more curious. On previous split, I did the same. I went for Verdant. I was like, man, this roster is looking stacked. And I got put to shame. So let's see if today they're capable of doing it, or if LR are going to be undefeated on the seeding stage throughout the entire year. But what about you? You went to Denmark. You didn't well. That's on you. You went to Nottingham. You lost a big opportunity. But now you can go to Sweden. Leagues Disrupt is going to Stockholm on Hovet Arena, and this image is stacked. If you look into the players, you know it's gonna be a good time. But aside from this, pick up your phone, look into the QR code, and see what else is going to happen on Leagues Disrupt. It's a single day. By the way, this time it's a single day, so all action will be packed on the same day. Expect so much. Already announced we have an after party this time, so without you it's not going to be the same. Buy the ticket. Buy the ticket, and if you don't do it, next week you'll have to see something that is kind of cursed. With that in mind, talking about being cursed, we have a game show. We're bringing it back. We bring it back first time in Summer Split. Aragon and Jamada. I think both of you are like the high contenders on game shows. Someone has to win today.
He's
Only
my son
one.
after all. It's only natural. He's a high performer on these kind of tests.
Nah, your ego is gonna take a hit when the son, does better than his father. It is what it is.
There's always a time that happens. There's a line. Jamada, is it
Every
time? Let's see it. The game we're going to play today is quite simple. I'll present you a clip. There's no name tags. There's no nothing. And I need you to tell me the answer to a specific question on every single clip. Okay? Okay. Let's start with the first one. We all know who's the pop, but who's the other team?
Do you want the top laner or what do you want?
No, just the name of the
It's
team.
Mac. LLS Mac, no?
LLS Mac. Do you want to lock it in?
Sure.
Sure. The team, pause, because the play is over. The team that Bowser is playing against, I'm so sorry, Aragon.
Is it not?
It is LLS.
It is.
Oh! There we go.
Okay, 1 point for you, Aragon. 1 point for you.
Okay.
I don't know if there's sound for the clips back at home, but I do hope you have like at least a game show sound. We're not running sounds today for us. Going for the clip number 2. Get ready. 1 point for Aragon so far. Jamada, you're just a spectator. Seeing a Cassante as a top laner brings back PTSD. Who's the blue team?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, Jamada?
Who's the blue team?
Blue team.
The blue team, I think, should be DMG, because I remember the Janna and the Annie was the light side, right?
Yeah,
So I'm gonna look in DMG here.
I would do the same. Do I get a point as well or no?
Blue.
No,
Well,
you don't get a
I had the
point,
same
you went
answer
too
as
slow.
you for the last one, but you didn't quicker.
Okay.
We're
You went
doing
too
this
slow
on
at a
first
gun.
come, first serve. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
I
being
now
polite.
get
I let him
sound. The answer is DMG. 1 for 1. You both stacking up the points, so we gotta bump up the difficulty. Okay.
go. Okay.
Clip number 3. Call an ambulance, but not for me.
ding, ding,
Who's
ding.
the Vi? Yes.
The Vi is Don Jake. This is from their opening game.
Hey, that's
exactly what it's
clean.
doing.
No doubts whatsoever. You
pretty
thought he
quick.
was gonna
Yeah,
die
props.
for the first blood, but props to our boy Don Jake, and props for you, Jamada. 2-1. Hey, Aragon, I thought the son would
Yo,
surpass
damn.
the father.
Yeah, I know. What's going on? All right, hit me up again. Have we got another?
Yeah, we do, but I thought like your reflexes were gonna be a little bit faster.
Listen. I've got to be faster. Yeah, age matters.
Okay, clip number 4. Some AD carries are built different. Who's the Varus?
Oh, ding, ding, ding.
It's dinged up.
Ding, ding, ding
Goodness
for
sake.
Jamada.
Barish, this is Kevo. Yeah, same game, actually. If I recall correctly, it should be the same game. It's
Eragon, you
Tripco
good?
over the wall.
You gotta say the team,
You
right?
good,
Jamada?
Eragon?
Oh, well, come on now. Let's be
This is the
reasonable.
flash
It's Rich
over
Cat.
the wall. Kevo with another play, stacking up.
Goodness
He's
sake.
looking good as well. Just for us to revisit these replays, Jamada 3 and 1. The final one is gonna be the most hard. You know, this is the one. This decides
Okay.
it all.
I'm ready.
Nothing beats a Jet 2 holiday. Who took an early flight?
Okay. Jet 2, we're looking for sponsors. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes, Jamada.
Oh my- That's-
Ruddy Nord.
No, who took the flight? Who took the
Oh,
flight?
who took an early flight?
Yeah, think about it.
It was Nord. It was Nord, right?
I need the
took
name
an
of the
early
player.
flight? Wait, well, I guess the person that got kicked in this clip was Yankos, so I'll take.
You want to lock in Yankees?
I'll
Wait,
take
wait.
Yankos.
Are we allowed to get
I
a
love
replay?
this.
Wait.
Boom.
Oh, wait! No! Wait.
It is.
Well, I guess it was Yankos in the
It
end.
was Yankos in the end. It was the right
Yankos.
answer. Oh my gosh.
It was
You-
Yankees. Nothing
Oh, for
beats
goodness
a
sake.
Jet.
I got blasted. It is what it is.
It is
I got
Yankees
completely
with that
destroyed.
in mind. This is a gap. This is a gap. Hey,
4-1.
Jamada, you got 4 points, 1 for Eragon. I just want to
feel
say
ashamed.
something, okay? We were talking about making a team for the casters, and we were debating top lane. Eragon, I'm so sorry, man. You're going to jungle or something else. You
Gosh.
are.
Oh no! Keep
Yeah,
him
no.
on
Get me on
top
jungle. That
lane.
that sounds
No,
great.
no. I have seen this guy's Lee Sin. Keep him away from the vines and the camps. Okay? We need him in top lane on Renekton. Otherwise, we will lose every game. It's
I think
okay.
you should consider
Accept.
your initial stance, Archeron. I think it's a really solid take off the bat. Go with your gut. Go with your gut, Archeron.
Hey,
go
I
with your
just
gut.
know, Jamada, you're taking another W on the game show. Eragon, well, I'm going to give you an opportunity, okay, to redeem yourself. You talked about ELOs in the past. Do you have anything
did.
for us this week? Because I want to learn. I want to
Ooh,
learn. Hit me.
Yeah. Welcome back with Elogon, with the weekly check-in for all the players in the league and all the teams. What are the average elos of each team, as well as the highest elo player right at the bottom there with the names, as well as their shifts up and down between the ranks. So you can see right now there's been a lot of change, actually. Some of the most interesting takes to me were that, for example, Bulldog had the most gained, DMG had the most lost. Actually, this is outdated. So everyone, congratulations, big congratulations, because Velia actually overtook Nemesis in terms of peak elo on Los
What?
Ratonis. He gained 150 LP over the past few days. And something else to keep in mind around Los Ratonis is that their average should be much lower, because I imagine Cadril is likely D1. So that's gonna drag everything down quite far. One last team I want to just touch on in terms of our weekly check-in is that Hyper briefly touched GM for Ruddy Sack, and Don Jake tried to hit Master Tier on stream, but unfortunately, in attempting to hit Master Tier, he dropped another 400 LP. So currently, on this scale,
Yeah, I actually
Don
wonder
Jake is minus 700 LP.
how much does Don Jake actually drag down this average, being all the way down in Emerald
It's a lot. It would be about it would be about 400 average, I think.
Wow.
400 to 500 average. It's rough.
Mm.
But yeah, some
Jamada.
interesting
Yeah,
things happening
continue.
today. Ozan as well, hitting Challenger.
By the way, Eragon, are you still a believer on the predictions based on a ELO?
I am.
Even though
I
you
am.
failed horribly on day 2.
No, I got one wrong over 2 days. I think that's a pretty good rate. Just because you got all 10 Archeron, man. Like you gotta flex a 1 win over me. And the one I lost was giga close.
Okay,
So-
I'm just gonna let you know a little bit more info. So you were talking about
Okay.
the ELO of the team from Los Ratonis since Kedril joined in. Actually, Kedril is not D1, okay? We gotta put some respect. He's an ex-player. He played on Fnatic, he played on Excel. He's currently Diamond 4.
Wait, so
You
you're
got
telling
me
me
in the
that if
first half.
I logged in right now
Oh no.
and hit play, there is a non-0% chance that I could queue into Mark. I could Queue into
The
cage.
same with me if I log onto my jungle account. I can queue into.
Yeah, no.
That's a
Interesting. That. You know what?
okay.
Son, we're gonna have some words after we're done here on air. Don't worry.
Hey, do you want to coach me on Lee Sin? Maybe we can get that.
If I may, Jamada, we were talking about Don Jake's elo and all that about already. But I'm I'm always spectating the players from NLC. Every single time I can, I go to their stream. I'm just everywhere. And I saw you playing with Reddy's junglers, Don Jake.
Yep.
If I recall correctly, correct me if I'm wrong. You played 2 games.
Yep.
You lost both of them. It was horrible. You left. You didn't say a word.
Well, no, I was, suffering, and I still kind of am as of today, from a head cold over the weekend. And I said, hey, I think it's probably best if we stop playing, because the first game I was definitely a little rusty, illness wasn't helping. Second game I was warmed up, and I dropped like 13 kills, and I couldn't carry him over the line, and also our team did kind of suck. But again, I dropped 13 kills, and it wasn't like I'm farming the enemy team. It's like I am making plays that should be winning the game, and Jake and the rest of the team were not doing the things that they had to do to secure themselves their own.
Is this on your top lane arc, or what's going on there? You want to allow it?
Well, no. That game I was playing Pantheon, I think. So, yeah, I play.
How
I play
can you
loads of
not
different
win on that
champs,
champion, man? Yeah,
True.
that Pantheon
That's
champ
what,
is
that
disturbing.
champ in lane is really gross, by the way. It's
And you're not winning?
listen, it doesn't scale like over the top well, depending on what comps you're versus. So, it was just kind of one of those games where if the rest of your team isn't kind
Archer's
of following up
wincing
doing
right
some
now,
of that lifting,
losing with Pantheon.
Cap. Jamada,
Cap.
that's Cap. Pantheon
Yeah,
is an
it's-
amazing scaling, and his laning phases. It's not okay. It's not legal. Don't say anything else, or Riot is gonna nerf it. Please, I've been spamming that. I need that on my life. And you know what else I need? I need Bulldog to show up with this new roster and perform as we saw them on the previous week. I want to take this opportunity to talk about this team that completely revamped, aside from Kaseng, showed some signs of life, but they're still kind of puppy.
B-Dog. Yeah,
Is this
I
Bulldog
think,
right now?
yeah, this is Bulldog. I think, look, listen, I think Bulldog did largely quite well. I think considering the players that they were up against, the mismatch in schedule, I think they did incredibly well, especially in the early game. There were times in the Los Ratonis game I thought they were going to win when they were picking off Velia and making a bunch of moves, but then they just got picked, and it was very unfortunate. And the same goes for the other game versus Verdant. I just think their schedule was so hard, man.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like they were done a little bit harshly, to say the least, by that opening schedule. And, where things flip, I think would be looking at, let's say as in they were playing Verdant and Los Ratonis, today. I think the narrative would probably be a lot different, right? We would probably be considering, very highly contested games, because my assumption will be today that we'll walk into these games very confident and, probably stomping them.
I mean, we got some copium, right? We got some copium here with the old... I mean, Kasing, he claims he was ill and they went 0-2, and maybe that would have had an impact on their performance. So, I mean, maybe going forward, they'll actually go 2-0. That's what I predicted this week. I don't know about you guys, but I predicted a 2-0.
I don't think I went for 2-0, but I do believe they're going to achieve something. I think this team showed a lot of signs. What do you believe they showed?
I believe they showed a pretty good early game. Yeah, you go, Dramada.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, very same thing, and I was going to kind of branch off Artenis in particular. I thought he had a very, very good showing in week 1 between the 2 rookies, himself and the AD, who Dream, I was a little bit less impressed with overall. I think he definitely had difficult games to play, particularly the Jhin game, I feel, was one that was, he was useful for the game-ish, but at the same time, it was still very difficult to play out, and he didn't really help himself. A lot of times kind of getting caught out by abilities he probably should have flashed and wasn't respecting, things like that, right? So if there's a slightly higher level of respect in those kind of moments, I suspect Dream will probably walk over, his opponents today.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for the viewers at home. These clips are where Bulldogs, these were the turning points in their games, right? In the first clip, you saw them get picked in mid, then top, and then after that, Kasing also got picked, and that just threw the entire game, right? And then here, They lost Sol to an Alistair with Smite from Spellbook because they were zoning off the jungler and not the support. So honestly, you know, if they just clean up these mistakes in mid game, and if that has something to do with Kasing maybe not feeling too well, I could see them winning and doing well going forward. You know, maybe they'll scale well into a solid mid-table team.
I buy that Kasing wasn't well because I live in the same city as him, and I got ill very shortly after.
Yeah?
So something was clearly going around last week.
The plague.
And it's the plague.
Everyone is complaining. Have you noticed this, Aragon? Everyone is complaining.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Aragon? Are you ill?
I'm good, man. I don't go outside, so I'm fine.
We know, mate. Your favorite player is Vampire.
Yeah. I do look after him. You know my IGN is Vampire Disciple? Copy him in every way. You gotta go.
I don't believe this. I just don't believe this. Talking about surprises as well, let's start with the first game of the day. It's gonna be Los Ratonis versus... Oh, we're still on this. We already talked about this.
We had the BGB, of course.
But it's all right. No, I quite like these. It's just to highlight that the post games of each game for Bulldog last week, where the games were close, right? This was the one against Los Ratonis, and at almost 20 minutes they were even. They made a comeback play. Large majority of the early game they were generally even. I remember they were punishing Baus a lot, and then the next one that we have really quickly, it was incredibly close. The next PGB post game. It was just a roller coaster of a gold graph, right? Because it was so incredibly close. Just look. I mean, just use your eyes. This is ridiculous, isn't it? It's just absolutely mental.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask an international viewer, like where this PGB came from, I think the likelihood is they'll just say the LPL, right?
Yeah.
It was, a game that realistically they could have won, right? And I think that Los Ratonis game too, a lot of positive game states, despite not necessarily being ahead in gold. It was situations where, weirdly, behind in gold, but still kind of ahead in the game, right? In ways that they could play.
Yeah. Okay, now we can actually go into the game of the day. The first one is going to be DMG versus Los Ratones. On paper, you look at this on the previous split and you might say there's no hope. But right now, there might be some hope for DMG. And we'll talk about it at the last part of this before the champion select. We all know what we're talking about. We already talked about Izilu and everything. Kadril is joining in. So this, though, DMG playing with Lulas, playing with Chance on the top lane, Fateski, Komski, and even Phantomisto on the mid lane.
Yeah.
What is the play you're looking into right now?
I think me and Jamada, we're both so passionate about the top lane. I think Chance showcased just generally such a better understanding of the lane when he played against his different lane opponents, especially in that Cassante game, right? The 1v1s, they felt like not only a micro check, but also a knowledge check, taking the fight on much stronger components compared to the Fiora, who all in. This was Mac on the Fiora, counterpicking the Cassante, winning because just straight up Cassante wins on these components in the all in post 6. No full Hydra completed for the Fiora, and he took advantage of that.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those things as well where I feel like a lot of people very brazenly take the Fiora matchup, happily, still, even to this day. And it is, a winning matchup. Before 6 and then after, 2 items, basically. But Cassante really does dominate a fair portion of that. And, Chance really did demonstrate a clear understanding that he was, again, just kind of the smarter player of that matchup. And even in that game with Ambessa against SLT on Rumble, felt like he was very actively shut down at times by Verdant and was still the guy on that team that was making a lot of the positive plays, at the very least, potentially happen.
Yeah, I wish there was we had this one clip. Jamada, you were in charge of getting the clips, so I hold this against you.
My bad.
There's this really, really good ultimate from Chance on Cassante where he buffered the parry or something like this and actually dashed through, completely dodging it.
Yeah.
It was so clean, man. Yeah. I mean, this Chance guy. But what is he up against, guys? What is he up against?
Oh, that's the problem. He's going to be facing Los Ratones, and this is the roster they're going to be playing on game 1. So not only is he facing Baus on the top lane, but also highlighting Reckless will be the AD carry for game 1 of today. And Kadril is back. He's back professionally, and we'll talk about it soon enough. But when you look into Baus, it's still Baus. He's not afraid of anything or anyone.
So... yeah, we'll get to the Kadril thing later on. I was gonna go on about the cat despairs that happened with Crownie whenever Cadril was initially supporting him. But yeah, talking about Baus specifically, it's quite interesting, especially since we have the stats that we could pull up at some point. They're very different top laners, I feel like. I feel like Chance is your bog standard, very meta top laner who's incredibly mechanically proficient, but also plays to group up and is much more selfless than Baus, who has way less CS per minute on the side of Chance.
Yeah.
When we look into the stats, tell me, Jamada.
I was going to say the one thing that really impressed me was the CS per minute on Baus.
Yeah.
It's both surprising and also unsurprising. It's one of those things where Baus is kind of known for, getting proxies off, and that in and of itself tends to lend to eventually just growing out CS leads. And he's got a very wave-focused playstyle, but again, last week it didn't necessarily feel like he got to do that for free all of the time, but that was just the nature of, hey, like, he was dominating Mac in this 1v1, as an example, and
it was crazy.
That definitely padded some of those stats a bit too.
Yeah, so Mac was, for those who don't know, Mac is one of the only Sejuani mains on EU, so this is why he picks it. They flexed the Sejuani early, but Baus was just dominating in a matchup there. Mac probably gets more practice in. Constant solo kills and then trade kills over and over again, and then probably the highlight of the day is going to happen later on, this right here, where he escapes, which is honestly, it's like one of the fastest channels of a Poppy ulti before it actually pings people away right here.
True.
It is crazy impressive, this escape.
Yeah, it's something like a 0.5 second channel. You have to, like, it's very, very specific. To get it in that kind of high tension moment is definitely a bit scary, because you technically almost have to mask it in some ways when you do it that close, otherwise you get interrupted. So
Well, he stated this multiple times on the stream. He believes he's the best Poppy EU West, and he does have a lot of understanding on the champion. I know, Eragon, Chachi is an existing member
you knew what I was
of
thinking.
I understand your reasoning, but he's confident of himself. There's no one that can take that confidence away. And for instance, they played versus Gam. I don't know if you saw the scrims, but even the team was like,
I saw
how
his
does he
cane.
play like this?
You
saw the cane, didn't you?
That was full schizo mode. I mean, the escapes he was doing. The whole of Gam did not know what to do when a cane was in the wall. Like, the amount of time he bought on side lane and then that whole Nash sequence, it's just crazy. He was just sit in walls and Gam were clueless.
So when you have this, I do believe Chance is going to be forced to play against something. I'm not going to say something that is not reasonable. Being it's just Baus. Baus is Baus. But aside from that, okay, we need to talk about it. Bot lane, Cadril is subbing in. And there you go. I like his champion pool. I didn't do the graphic, by the way. I have nothing to do with this graphic. But I understand it.
Yeah.
Aragon, do you want to? Should I? Like,
Look,
Pick it. Who wants in? Who wants in?
I mean, okay, listen. The last time Cadril played support for Los Ratonis was on the, it was the birth of Los Ratonis, right? At the creation. And the AD carry was Crownie. And I feel like every time the camera was on Crownie, he looked very sad. You know what I mean? Like, the cat despairs were very prominent every day, because that lasted like a couple of weeks, right? So I don't have high hopes, but I think it's going to be fine. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. Just keep him on Nautilus, or actually.
Oh god, you could die so easy on Nautilus. Just put him on Lulu, man. Just put him on Lulu. I don't know. Like, just let me sit back.
Look, we actually
specifically put Lulu.
Obviously, we put a lot of focus on. we put a lot of focus on Cadril. I do want to just very briefly highlight, guys. We're gonna see Reckless back in the ADC slot. By
True.
Like this is something we haven't. It's been a while, you know. I think that is a little bit of something to celebrate too, just as a side. Just because, I think it would have been 2023, right? It was the last time that professionally he was playing in the AD slot. And it's been 2 years, and obviously before that it was, a decade-long career of many, many highs, of course, many, many lows too, but a career still worth celebrating in that role. So to see him back, here on Los Ratonis in the role is definitely something that's going to be fun too. It's just that he does have Cadril playing support next to him. So, we'll see how that flows.
I will say, I think last time, I think Cadril was spamming Maokai, right? I feel like at the time, if my memory serves correctly, Cadril was spamming Maokai in scrims and on like stage games, and that's what he would do as a crutch, is he would just throw saplings and then play at range, and that way he had an impact without being at risk too much. Maybe they'll go back to that.
I mean, he did practice just before we went live the Blitzcrank, And
Oh
I'm gonna
dear
tell
lord, don't
like,
pick that.
yeah.
Don't.
His
don't
aim
lock that in.
with Blitzcrank, no, you gotta respect it, okay? He was all minions, like no minion was safe.
Right.
I'm just
No
letting you know.
minions.
No
No
minions
minions.
were safe. I'm just saying that. But yeah, when you look into wreck the situation, because I think this is also the highlight. It's also cool to see Casual playing again as a support. But with Reckless, I think the champion pool kind of shifts a little bit. Like Crowny with the Jhin and stuff like that is a menace on positioning and outranging. But when we look back into Reckless, like, do we get to see the Sivir, the Tristanas, we're in Sweden? What sort of idea does he bring as an ADK right now? It has been so long.
Yeah. My assumption would be mostly the meta stuff, and then that comfort, right? Like, in Sivir, Tristana, those kind of hyper carries is where I really feel like, Reckless will likely try to make his bread and butter here today, because again, Kadril is his support. So, if it's not Lulu duty or engage duty, I feel like Reckless is gonna want as much individual agency as he can buy himself.
So I will say, like, it's an overview. It's a big meme, right? Like, that he plays a lot of Sivir, but Sivir is actually just genuinely being picked. For example, in the LPL, it's been going for 3 days
right
now. Game 2, 3 of Fearless Draft, they will just lock in Sivir. So it's probably first pickable, especially if you give something like a Varus and then you play like to handshake the Varus with Sivir and pick Sivir into, which is pretty decent. I think there's an angle there. I think Reckless's pool will be different. For example, with Crowny, they'll do something like B1 Corki. Right? Much more aggressive, much stronger early game. Maybe we'll see that tone back a little bit, and they'll have more of a hyper carry role for Reckless.
I like it. It's also a best of one, so keep that in mind. There's not going to be a Fearless. It could also be a cheese play of any of these teams. And when you look into the bot side, maybe DMG will be more focused towards the top side, giving Chance a little bit more breathing room and also more power instead of looking into the bot side. Maybe Dream can play something as a hyper carry, as we were debating a little bit on week 1. Also, keep in mind that Yunara is not available this week, so she's not going to be available as a champion. No region so far has been able to play it, and we are on Champion Select. As we look into, we're deep into Champion Select. There you go.
Yeah. Wow.
Azir.
Yeah, B1 Azir, early rotation. I mean, I quite like getting stuff like Vi plus Azir pretty early on. I think that's quite a good draft, you have a strong lane to get through the Vi through early. Is Xin Zhao open? Yeah, Xin Zhao's also open, but that's not quite a good matchup into Trundle. What are your thoughts, Jemana?
Yeah, I mean, Senna early lock. Hello, Scruffy. That's
scaling.
Senna Nautilus. We're just like playing scaling, right? Try and leave Velia's champion pool to the wayside. I think there's plenty of options here in this kind of setup, but at the moment, you definitely want reliable, means of engage. If you've got Senna and Azir.
Oh, that's an LPL pick right there.
LPL pick. It's very fun. Zed tremendously outpaces the Trundle if this does actually end up getting locked in and it's not a hover, but we get the boring answer in the Wukong. Of course, like I said, looking for more reliable means of engage. Wukong is certainly a way of providing that, but does need an additional layer of, CC to really lock away those plays.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm noticing some power picks open, like Talia. If you want to pick Trundle, pillar someone, land the Jhin Snare, and then Talia combo off of that, that's also a viable option. Because this champ is just so OP right now, and it's pretty good into the Azir, so they're going to lock that in real quick. As far as going into 4-5, I'd say LR probably want to lock in more dive. They already have the Wukong champions that could dive up top side. They could throw an Ornn ultimate over the top. However, I said that, and I remember they have Baus, so maybe not that angle.
Of champion pool. So keep in mind that it should be LR missing the second half of bans. It's going to be only for DMG, so they'll be focusing on the bans on the top side. As you can see on DMG, they want to take a little bit of breathing room for Baus. That's why the Shogath is there. Now, do you go for something else like the Poppy? So far, not a lot of dashes. To be honest, not a single one aside from an ultimate from Pantamisto. So I don't even know if that could be a pick towards the top side. But he has to reveal him probably B4, and they'll try to save their last pick for the top lane for Chance.
Yeah. I think the problem is you don't have any bans to set up your blind pick, right, on 4-5 if you're LR, which makes it a little bit tricky. So what's the most blindable support that you could pick if you're Kadril? I think that's the question right now, which is pretty tricky. I mean, you could always just go something like Naught. You'll probably face down something like a Braum or so on. At the end of the day, you're probably okay with that.
That is actually what I'm quite surprised about here, is that DMG are still giving respect fans over the mouse when they're on red side. They could pitch like the easy champions to play out a support role and then take another, and really kind of leave, you know, Cadril potentially with his pants down, because how many champs can he really play in the support role, right? Like comfortably in this kind of setting. Again, has center into Jhin, so it's not necessarily going to be the most, you know, interactive lane potentially. So maybe he's going to have a little bit of freedom to roam around, and that could definitely help out. And then at that point, you're just playing a support champion in team fights later on in the game.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to look for some kind of engaged support. I think something like a Rel, a Leona, Nautilus to set up the Talia spells is always really great as well for DMG if you want to go that route. And the response, I think Cadril has some simple answers that he can pick up. I mean, blind picking here. Do you want top lane counter or do you want support counter? In my opinion,
you want top counter. I think just giving chance the
but you're against
Cadril.
That's why the debate is, right, do you want to take advantage of that? But yeah, for sure.
Right, well, that's the Rel. Is it just the Alistar answer, right? That would be, in my
normal.
mind, yeah, like the most normal of all of them. But, you know, you can really kind of pick anything. And I think whilst Alistar would definitely be a very powerful pick here, something like the Braum to kind of dissuade some of the front forward movement, or the Nautilus again, which is where my mind was going to, or even the Leona, because of the two immobile carries of DMG. All of them been very fine options, but they do land on this Braum in the end as a means of, hey, like, if you go forward, we don't want you to be able to walk off very easily. And the Braum, of course, provides so much re-engage potentially if DMG look for aggressive plays.
I quite like the Braum here. It at least provides a nice duo with the Azir, so the front to back is going to be really nice because the Azir constantly procs the Braum passive on the melees in the front line, and then you have quite a strong through the Braum down on both sides. So yeah, it's quite decent. It's also a good answer into the hard engage of the Rel, and then a Jax blind. Now, I think Ambessa is a good answer into the Jax, but you could also go the Chance Cassante because that's also a good matchup that we see internationally.
I was even thinking about, there you go. He has been so comfortable with that champion. Why not just play your strongest champion? If you get any sort of lead, it might be the tipping scale for DMG. LR2-0 so far. DMG still looking for their second win. If they win right now, they're going to tie up with 2-1. Gentlemen, name tags off. What do we feel?
Name tags off?
Yeah, I gotta do it.
I actually wouldn't mind DMG's comp here.
I like DMG's comp as well, mate.
I like normally I would be kind of a sucker for the Azir center combo and like surrounding pieces. Aragon would know. I used to draft this kind of comp for him all the time, like 5 years ago. But I think that this DMG comp kind of works. It deals with what little frontline there is because of the Trundle. There's a bunch of setup and CC, and they still have just about enough DPS considering there's no dedicated tank on the LR to really get through the game.
I really like the pick potential that DMG have. With the Trundle pillar into the roots from Jhin from long range, as well as the combos, I think there's a lot of different options that DMG have. I'm a big Trundle fan right now. You see it all the time in the LPL, just constantly locked in. I think this champ is incredibly broken. Whereas, and, you know, for LR, you have a lot of dive with the Wukong, but it's kind of a more front to backy, which doesn't really fit Wukong in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of that.
Well, this will be the opening game for day 3 of the seeding stage. This is day 2 for Group A. Los Ratonis versus DMG will open up the appetite with the menu. And talking about that, the people who are going to be shouting at the game are going to be Initialize and Trouble. Welcome to the show. If they join in.
Not at all. I am Initialized, joined by Trouble in a slightly different location. Look at this different background. How is life at the minute, Georgia?
It's great. You know what? This freezer back there has like 10 different flavors of ice cream.
What?
Like he can choose during the games. It's crazy. It's really good.
I'm very jealous. I don't
and also,
have.
And then also themed
any ice cream
for once.
That's true.
I got the flag.
That's true. And again, we are here for the re-debut of Cadril coming in today, his first professional match since 2020 on XL. Of course, there's been a few streamer matches since then, but I've been told emphatically by my stats guys that doesn't count. So, for as far as we're concerned, first pro game since 2020.
Hey,
Hot Damn, we're coming in with the center brawl.
That kind of sounds a little bit like, you know, how K-pop idols do it, where it's called a comeback. When they re-debut with like a new song or a new release or a new album, so it's a comeback. So it's a Cadril comeback here.
There you go. Getting ready for it. It's going to be great. Interesting debate there on the desk as well about the two different comps. Right. Nameplates off. DMG, actually really good pick comp. Lots of CC, lots of ways to punish mobile carries. But you look at LR and you go, bro, that's a hell of a lot of scaling. That's a hell of a lot of carries with 2 items plus.
Nameplates off. I think I'm looking at Gen G on blue side. Yeah. Like straight up.
Oh, boy.
Quote straight up of MSI and EWC. I think I'm looking at Gen G if you take the nameplates off. It's just a very LR comp, right? The Braum down the bot lane, which would usually be reckless, but it's not. Reckless on his infamous Senna, got scaling in the mid lane, got Valia causing some havoc in the jungle, you know, with the engage, with the Wukong, having a bit more early game attention over there. So I feel like this is like it's like a very LRS comp. And if you're wondering why I didn't mention Baus, you know, why I didn't mention Baus. It doesn't matter what he picks.
It'll be AP Jax again.
It'll be fine.
Jax. It's AP Jax again. We know how he is. We know what he does with this champion. It's very silly, and no one quite gets how he makes it to work. Either way, here we are. Quick note. Did just get word from production that the game is currently paused, so we are in a slight delay. So, Georgia, we do get a little bit of time to break down game as it is, or what we're expecting of it. And obviously, Cadril stepping in. He's here for the content, for the memes, for the brawn play, apparently. And on the other side, we're going to see exactly what DMG can do after a relatively mixed week 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like for DMGs, it's so important as an orc in general, right? We saw throughout winter and spring, even though they tried, and I remember there was like a game where they played versus LR where they really gave them a run for their money. If I'm not wrong, it was Bucci on Olaf, and he was actually wreaking havoc on the Rift, and he almost was able to carry them over the finish line to beat LR. So I feel like this is a little bit also of a deja vu, if you will. DMG trying their hardest, LR also trying their hardest to make it easier for DMG to pull out that win potentially as well with my Yone down the bot lane. But I feel like it's going to be a very fun game because we have seen also Chance. I'm very excited to see him on Cassante and see how he can also take over potentially that top lane.
I did get a little word from Devils, one of the DMG coaching staff earlier in the day, saying, we prayed and our prayers were answered. Cadril's coming in as a support. We've got a chance. The switch of the roster, they feel like they can punish that way. And I kind of see what they mean in the sense that, look, you haven't got Reckless in support. You haven't got Crowny down there. That really oppressive 2v2. Always have the lane shuffle. All those things. If there was ever a way that LR were going to drop a game, subbing Cadril in might be it. Trouble. Okay. You get the unenviable task of trying to tell me how that actually happens.
Okay, actually, it's not an unenviable task. Honestly, I feel like DMG, when they were doing really well, it was Faithski and Kamsky that were actually pulling ahead, right? It was their bot lane primarily. And I feel like right now, it's not that Cadril is a slack or like Reckless back on 80 carry is going to be anything less than what Crowny could provide, right? Particularly, okay, maybe due to practice reasons, right? Because he's practicing more of the supports, but Senna is his bread and butter. You don't just forget how to play Senna, right? But I feel like particularly because DMG are going to potentially look to play through that bot lane, I think it has been their saving grace throughout the entire year. And I feel like they might look to put a few more eggs onto that bot lane basket to try and snowball them. And especially when you've got a Jhin down there and you've got a lot of setup with the Rel, you can actually make plays happen in the early game.
Yeah, and again, you've got a really good comp in theory to punish your mobile carries. You've got what, like the Azir, the Senna. If you can catch a good pillar behind them, throw in a Rel combo with a Talia on top, you can absolutely punish these guys. And yes, obviously Braum is it, nasty combo. Aragon was talking about it. Super easy to proc that Braum passive. You can punish those overdives. But there should be some tools like that. Even so, as it stands, it's still our first game of the day. LR coming in with an insane record this year, 2 EMEA Masters titles, 2 NLC titles, coming in, looking to repeat it all over again. They switch out a player. How much of a difference does that even make? And obviously DMG on the other side, like long time NLC org at this point, have done a lot in terms of grassroots stuff, but in terms of like active success, silverware in the league, never really been something that team has ever been able to push for. I think we've seen maybe top 4 once or twice, but that's been it really as a max level we've seen out of them for all the other good stuff they've done.
Yeah, I feel like we have been always talking about the golden rat for Los Ratonis, and it's pretty much like the golden road, but in a rat form, because road wouldn't really suit them, right? It has to be the golden rat. And I feel like it's very important to talk about longevity in the league, but also what they have provided the league with since they came in, right? A lot of new players joining, a lot of older players joining, re-LEC players resurfacing just to play in this league. for the competitive side of things. And it has been, honestly, a wonderful journey. You guys might be realizing that we are stalling, and we will be getting into game really shortly. But it has been a beautiful journey for Los Ratonis, right? And we are talking about a back-to-back-to-back. Subbing Cadrillin again, it's not a slack. The guy has been playing for so many years.
I mean, he's Diamond 4 right now, to be fair. So maybe if it was ever a time when all he's win
is Don Jake higher rank than Cadrill?
Ooh, I actually don't know. Jake, we'll have to find out after we head into game. That's a question for another time. Let's get on to the riff for our first game of the day. Thank you all for your patience. So we have got a level 1 plan straight away, looking to catch out Cadrill, but the Winter's Bite on Santa Braum will deliver a present directly into the face of Karmsky.
All right, and we also got a reply right here from Jamada, who jumped on the opportunity to diss Don Jake. He says, nope, he's about 300 LP lower. All right, then.
Oof.
That's a dub for Cadrill right there. Oh, let's see.
Direct
Is he going to get one?
opposite.
Is he going to get one? He's fishing.
Hang on. 1 gold.
+1.
Oh, that's it. That's the game over.
That's right.
That's the difference
That's
he
right.
needed.
Okay, it's over. Game's over.
It's like, you know, the first ward kills, when it gives you that first bit of XP and it changes everything because you get the level 2, like a minion quicker or whatever. Like, that's what's going to happen now. Just that extra bit of gold. It's the longsword difference in about 2 minutes. Hang on, level 1. A little bit of trading over the wave. Not too much more to be seen there, though.
Alright, so my eyes literally go straight to the jungle because I feel like this is where the action is primarily going to be coming through. And seeing as Lulash is going to be starting his pathing from the bot side all the way to top, I'm expecting to see potentially like putting a little bit of effort towards Chance over on the top side. We did see some really cool videos and clips being pulled from the analyst desk of him doing some really dangerous and illegal stuff onto the Cassante. So potentially getting the Cassante ahead a little bit early off in this game will allow a little bit more freedom in terms of having that very chunky tank over in the front line, because LR's front to back is absolutely disgusting, right? If they do get to the 30 to 40 minute mark, to those 3 to 4 items deep, I feel like DMG is going to be really difficult for them to break that.
And it has often been a trait of LR, right? Like, lose early, win late, because you can trust in their team fighting, you can trust in their scaling, you can trust in their macro sense as the game gets further on, even if there's been 1 or 2 fumbles in the early game here or there. Not looking at any particular player on our screen right now. But even so, you've still got to be afraid of things like Lulush on this trundle, putting a pillar behind the center, into the Jin W, into the Talia shove, into the Rel combo. Early back here from the Talia to come back and get the tier straight away.
I love what Baus just did there. That's very respectful from him, knowing that the Trundle potentially started bot side, heading towards the top side of the map. Look how he walked into the tri-bush, put a deep ward over in the Krugs area to spot Trundle. Lulash did see that this obviously was warded because it was warded right in front of him, but that shows that Trundle's on the top side of the map. Now, this is the Bwipo dilemma. Do you stay and push and potentially die, but you've shoved your wave, or do you back off now? It's going to be option number 1.
It's Baus. Does it ever change? Well, leap strike counters right there's the pillar. Still has got face rush though, so he's really quick and just gets to run faster than the frozen domain. So Baus will lose 20% of his HP bar, but doesn't really lead to all that much. Bot lane though, I think we might be looking at a bit of a dive. Karmsky crashes down, gets some value, but a flash on forward from Cadrill. And Flash First Blood goes to Velia there in the bot side.
They looked for the dive, 3 versus 2. The Jin only has a cleanse on him, no double displacement summoner, so it was very easy for LR to just pull off that dive right there. Fantastically made. And topside doesn't get a response from the sort of DMG. Baus, not only did he not lose a summoner, he didn't die or anything, he just circled back into his lane on a pushed lane from Chan. So all great right here, and especially the kill going over to that Wukong. Any champion that builds Trinity Force, it's such an expensive item, and especially when it's a first item strike, getting that injection of gold earlier on in the game is definitely going to help them for those skirmishes to come.
Definitely will do. Early soul stacking as well. Always feels good getting involved in those kills as the Senna. Again, with a lot of nerfs to that champion in general. She doesn't stack souls as fast as she did once upon a time. And obviously you want to get those kind of markers for your range increase and the crit and all those kinds of things. The 100 zone mark being the golden ticket to late game Senna. But that just comes kind of 28 to 29 minute mark these days rather than kind of 5-6 minutes earlier than that. With the general way games go at the minute.
Yeah, I feel like they do have other answers, right? Until the Senna gets there, you've got the Azir, who's pretty fine on 1 to 2 items. You got Wukong and Jax as well. This is an AP Jax, so there's a lot of burst coming through. There's no mana on Baus.
No, so Karmsky.
He might just try to support. Okay,
nearly. Phantomisto. Gerst putting a ward down there, not too much there, but Velia taking the opportunity to head straight towards that dragon and take that one down, especially as they did just see Karmsky top side. Means there's been a bit of a lane swap of the bot lane towards that top side. Baus TPing top as well, interestingly, but it does generally mean there won't be much contest around this dragon, one would think.
I was about to say, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a lot of the teams just swap for the sake of swapping. Like right here, Fatesky and Kamsky both have their flashes available. Kadel had to burn both for the dive down the bot lane, so there could be a situation where you get trundled on their way, the flash on Baus.
Deadly Flourish was flashed away from, but there's still a pillar, no leap strike available. Baus counter striker just hops away again.
He's just on a very, very slippery champion this time around. He does lose his flash, and most importantly, that was a flash lost after he teleported back in lane. So both of his summoner spells are down. But again, I don't think it's going to matter much right here. Bot lane, in a little bit of pressure right here, Chance will be more than happy to CS all that underneath the tower, right? But all in all, what I was saying is that I feel like a lot of the teams will lane swap just for the sake of it, just for doing it. I feel like right here you see that Kamsky and Fatesky were a little bit early for the Void Grabs. We still have a minute and a half, and the Drabble was given away in advance. But I feel like what they're trying to do is pretty much get away from whatever side Velia is playing for, especially since Velia went for the Dragon, especially since this Wukong has been a little bit accelerated with the Shin in the inventory.
Hang on, a bit of a potential fight there in the river, but that's level 6 now for Velia, so Lulis would not have very much fun there. Again, because some of these moves that Lulis has made, is actually down that level and a fair amount of CS. This jungle invade now could get really dicey. Blue buff very much on the cards for LR if they want to fight this.
Velia is looking. The ward's going to get cleared slowly. It's not going to be the case. Velia cannot walk too far in. He does have the level 6 though, and he's constantly looking to potentially threaten, even dive down the bot lane or another invade towards the Gromp. He will stay. The B was fake. Velia and Baus putting a lot of pressure. The TP coming through as well. That will be from Kadel with the spell book. And Nemesis has also shoved in that mid lane. They really want that Gromp.
And that Gromp would be sick, so it's a good time to try and fight that Trundle. K'Sante going to just reset, and DMG just have to give it up. Lane priority lost, level 6. A little late for Lulis, so it's going to get punished well there by Los Ratonis with a coordinated invade. Kadel just stealing the small wolves. What a rat!
That was really fantastic right there from Velia. He used the fact that he was level 6 to level 5 onto Lulash. He created pressure. I just want to point out the bot quadrant of Lulash's jungle. It's fully warded. I say 6 wards on the bot corner of that side. So it would definitely be a fantastic time after the Void Grabs to swap your bot lane down that bot side of the map, and you will have absolutely everything under control in terms of vision. Now Lulash looking towards the top side of the map with this Trundle. His bot lane is over the top side and pushing, trying to shove in that wave, trying to get some control into the river. But again, Velia playing so aggro onto this Wukong invading for the red buff.
Now red buff about to potentially go down as Kadel just stands there and starts autoing all the while top side. Reckless potentially in danger as the curtains are called. Kadel immediately goes and makes sure the Reckless stands behind Brown, but now Baus looking forward with the counter strike. Stun onto Lulis and the Trundle goes down for the count. Subjugate means nothing to a load of rebels from the side of Los Ratonis who claim the feat of warfare, and all the while Velia does go down to Chance, who goes all out and brings the Wukong low.
All right, we get Chance clips again onto the K'Sante. It feels like this is truly his champion that he shines on. Gets one back. Top side of the map, Baus will be stuck between, well, a tower and a not so hard place, because that's Brom. But he'll be able to get out. Mid lane's going to be pushed, and so far so good. I don't think any Void Grubs went down. It was pretty much just an establishment for some vision to take some control over the top side of the map to then go for the Void Grubs. But as we're going to see right here, on the replay, here it comes. All right, Velia pretty low. I think he actually kills Phantomisto onto that Talia. Forces the flash as well. The Chance with the response kill onto that K'Sante. But no smites mean that no team actually went for the Void Grabs. Now that we're back onto live, LR will try to re-establish a little bit more control over on the top side of the map. You will see that Nemesis trying to push out that wave, but DMG are there first. And this will most likely be 2 Void Grabs for DMG's side.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good there. Not really seeing much of a contest, so at the very least it's going to be 2. Most likely all 3, which is good news. Getting something back here again. 3 kills to 1 down. Near enough 2,000 gold early on. It's pretty rough here, especially when we said, look, LR are likely the scaling team here. They're the ones with the Jacks. Wukong is here. Senna, obviously. Ooh, slight mistime there on the seismic shove, trying to punish Nemesis as he came on in. Either way, good early game right now from Los Ratonis, and that's not always been a guarantee with this squad. DMG Gonna want to try and right that ship very shortly, or things are gonna start getting tricky for them.
Yeah, and I'm actually looking at the inventories right now. Already see the Nashor's Tooth being completed for Nemesis right here. He's gonna be able to shove those waves really quickly. A lot of vision control and river control on the both side of the map for LR. They already have one dragon. Start to stack them on a team that wants to scale. Lulash!
Cadril jumps over the wall there, flashing on in, trying to turn around his Kamsky will then crash back on down. Not sure who actually got the grump there, but they went flashing for it. Really trying to punish with these jungle invades. They have been relentless.
Yeah, I feel like, again, especially since Valia got that extra kill, he reached that level 6 first. I feel like LR have been playing fantastically around him, right? I know that it's a meme, it's like, oh, whose fault is it? It's Valia's fault all the time, but I feel like LR have been playing really, really well around the jungler right here. The knockup will make sure that Nemesis doesn't get any more damage onto Mister right here. But again, Valia with a really, really, really strong monkey in his hands right here. He should be very close to Trinity Force, if not actually completing it when he's back in base. He's going to grab the second dragon of the game. There's going to be two dragons stacked. And especially when we're talking about a team, you mentioned it earlier, right? That wants to stack, that wants to get into that late game, that wants to evolve through items. I feel like having a few dragons early on means that if everything goes to hell, you can still stall by having 10 extra minutes from those two dragons.
Yeah. And again, you are then in a fantastic position. We've already got two dragons. Even if you lose them, as you said, they're still just fine. Mountain Soul to work with as well would be, in fairness, pretty good for the likes of a Trundle or a Cassante if you get a hold of it. Bouncing once more between tier 2s and 3s and just whack someone with a counter-strike. Trying to hop into the enemy base. Bouse, where are you going? What is this direction? Is he going to try and execute to the fountain? He's going to try
I don't think he can here.
He's going to counter-strike a little bit more. The Pathmaker a little early. There is finally Bouse falling, you would imagine. And Chance picks that one up all the while. Setter is shoving away that bonsai, but Bouse be bousing.
Okay, so I want to point out here the minimap, right? Everyone sees what Bouse does, and everyone might call him an Inta, but what he's doing right there is he took about 30 to 45 seconds of almost 4 members of DMG to try and stop him. Mid-lane wave got pushed in, bot side jungle got invaded, and bot lane wave got shoved in. This is what we call pretty much dominating the map, right? You need those lanes pushed in so you can have further vision, so you're able to steal things away. If you look over in the jungle, Veli is about 30 CS up at this point over Lulash on this Trundle. And with Trundle, you really want to be able to be in the game, to be competitive. You're playing a bruiser. You don't necessarily need to be ahead, but falling behind really feels bad for Trundle, especially when there's no tank on the other side of the team to actually be able to subjugate, right? So right now, Lulash has been put in a very precarious situation as Nemesis...
He's 2 levels down. He's level 7. He's the same level as Israel, and that is really sad to see, because again, very, very proactive, coordinated play from Los Ratonis to make sure Lulash is suffering. They've got the lane priority. They've got the proxy farming in the base just to make sure they can do what you just said, just get into the jungle, steal away those camps, at least contest for them. Hell, Cadril flashed over a damn wall to throw an R button at Lulash. He's on his grump.
And everyone to dash out themselves, right? So far so good for LR. About 3,000 gold in the lead right here is exactly what you want, specifically on a team that shouldn't necessarily be winning in the early game. DMG have not necessarily played as much as we wanted to see them play around that mid-jungle, using the Talia, play through side. Nemesis.
And he's just dead, throws the ult out as well, and is just way too overeager. And on the other side, Chance has just managed to get a solo kill under the turret onto Bouse. We'll try and pick up this T1 while he can. Actually, Valia coming down with Cadril. Could get a bit dicey. Lula's still around, might just give it up here and give that Cassante over to the Wolves, or I suppose in this case, the Monkeys. And Reckless will get over here to help clear out the wave and probably pick up that soul from the dead Cassante.
That's what I meant when I said, hey, even if everything goes to hell, there's still 2 dragons, there's still 10 minutes, right? We get the solo kill down bot lane from Chance. I'm a really big fan of this guy, especially onto his Cassante, and a fantastic flash from Kamsky on the tops of the map to shut down Nemesis, take his flash as well, very, very important. So I feel like Nemesis right now could potentially be that one target, that one champion with the target on his back, specifically when it goes towards neutrals. We have 10 seconds for the Rift Herald to spawn, and of course we're going to have in about a minute and a half time the next dragon, which is going to be very important, right? If LR manage to secure that is so point for them. You mentioned earlier, taking that Mountain Soul away from 2 tanks instead of DMG would be huge.
Trying to use that Asticon wall to hide. Gonna try and get the seismic shot. That gets the leap strike out. Magnet Storm after. Counter strike comes on down. Gonna continue trying to run at Bouse, but he's got a phase rush. He just walks away. And that's just an ult down for not very much, as Fatesky just gets 1v1 by Reckless, who's going to force the Ghost Blade out at least. Doesn't lead to the full kill, that's rough.
I feel like that was a little bit misplayed by Phantom Mister right there. You know that Rel has a bunch of CC and Kalmsky actually really committed onto Baus. So that W being preemptively used right there, and then Dodds didn't really do them any favors. Taz is going to tip in, but it's too late.
Lula's just here. They really want to get something. Oh, curtains are called. Valley's going to flash. Glacial Fissure comes on. Glacial Fissure, comes on down. No Sejuani in this game. Cyclone used to buy some more time, and LR get out at the cost of a flash and a couple ults.
Yeah, and they're out. So one flash onto Velia was all that was burned right there, but you get the Cassante TP right here, right? And again, we mentioned 30 seconds, 35 seconds about on the clock right here. LR will be able to get the resets, get back up on the map, grab a couple of control wards, play for the bot side of the map. You see Reckless is just constantly putting pressure on whoever shows up over in the mid lane. He really does have Fatesky's number on that Jhin as well. So mid lane perma pushing, putting pressure on that mid lane tower, making sure that you can bleed that pressure then into the river, because this is going to be so point. They managed to grab the next mountain, and I feel so bad for Lulash. I feel that bot side jungle has belonged to everyone except him.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much he can do individually, right? Like, you can't sit there and fight 1v3. You will die, but it just feels awful as a jungler, and you're the one that suffers. Well, at least get the Scuttle Crab, and again, may want to come and fight this. TP now behind. Chance might be able to look at them. Player with only 6 days experience, looking to punish someone significantly more at this point, though it is, of course, Baus, who manages to hop around significantly more, perhaps a little bit of an overstatement when it comes to him.
I feel like this might be a free soul point for LR.
Chance.
The ultimates are not available for DMG, but they're still fighting.
Now in danger, flashing away. Reckless gets a bit of a root as a result of a lot of his Baus flashes on him for the counter-strike. Shuffle back with the Emperor's Divide. Come and hang around a little while longer. A double to Reckless. Back in the AD carry role and hasn't missed a shot. Phantomisto forced back under his tier 2. Valuable Warrior Trickster over the wall. Mid lane tier 1 is down. Soul point secured and Los Ratonis. It is their game to do with as they please.
I mean, when you've got a Jhin and a Talia in your team, those two ultimates are so pivotal to just creating space and taking over small choke points, creating fights, splitting up teams. And they were the two ultimates that were missing on the side of DMG. You cannot be fighting when two of your most crucial ultimates are down. They funneled in, Chance was too far forward, LR were able to just melt him down before anyone else from DMG were there. And by the time that was done, I feel like the fight had already concluded, right? As we're going to see again onto that replay. Chance a little bit too far forward. You see the Talia. He is a little bit too late. They get zoned by Baus. And look at Baus how beautifully he plays from the side, right? He can counter-strike, jump over on the other side, flashes in as well, gets the double kill for LR right there. And the shuffle from Nemesis comes through to solidify the deal. But again, DMG fighting without their ultimates right there was a little bit another nail in the coffin kind of deal.
It kind of was. And now we are in a position where Senna is 2.1k ahead, is stacking the souls just fine. You got a 2k lead in the jungle. Everywhere you look, it's blue numbers for LR, and it ain't getting any easier anytime soon. DMG now looking to collapse, maybe pick up a turret, be their first of the game, a little bit of something back, it'd be a bounty. But I am clutching at straws here, and DMG need every silver lining they can get.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a secret agent Baus right there, not moving on purpose, but no. It was a replay, sort of standing still for a second. He got that tower over on the top side of the map, and I guess this is how he died. And
that's how the Weaver's Wall came on through to punish him. He gets seismic shoved and dies as a result. But hey, gets the turret, gets the wave after. For Baus, I think he'll say that's worth.
Absolutely. Second items getting slowly completed on the side of LR right here. We're looking at the Lich Bait for Baus onto these jacks. We go rapid fire and a death cap. Second item for Nemesis. And I will tell you, that pandemic with Rylai's second item, with just wait until we have 4 items on Azir until we do damage, did things to me, man, at MSI. I love the fact that we're back on the NLC and Nemesis just slamming death cap second item on Azir and actually deals a ton of damage.
Slows, Georgia. Right? Slows, I don't need damage. I've got other teammates for that. I can just make sure everyone else can do damage. Let's just go utility.
Man. I've got Brom for slows, that's fine.
Well, that's fine. My brain's slow enough, you know? I don't need it from my hands as well. Either way, DMG now, what are they going to do with Velia? Nimbus strikes forward, Pillar comes up. There's Chance trying to run at Baus here. Chance actually had a few really good individual plays versus Baus, but struggle to find any meaningful advantage. A couple hundred gold ahead, the only member on his team to have so. As his red buff being fought over. Kamsky going for that grand engage. Doesn't really find too much. Only trying to come through. And now the turnaround with Brawl passive rolling. Chance TPing in. Cadril will try to use the stand behind me to get a little bit out to safety. Fatesky turning on up as well. But now Chance in danger. Cyclone comes on through. And unfortunately, he ends up knocking into the rest of the squad. They're going to look for some more as Nemesis slides, glides, and divides. The whole of DMG for the remaining health bars. Kamsky will at least get out to safety, but they lose 3 at price of absolutely no one.
And you can see how strong Braum is when you pretty much funnel into a choke point. He gets to put his shield up and pretty much absorb anything that comes their way. LR, that was probably like the closest fights that they had. One of their closest fights. A lot of HP bars went pretty low, but I feel like DMG at this point, they're really lacking in the damage department, right? Again, 2 items completely over in LR. DMG are just hanging about on like 1.5. Some of their members have 2, but they couldn't really commit to this choke point, especially since Cadril's there with that Braum to absorb majority of the damage.
And there's just control wards everywhere. There's nothing in the river really, or even in their own jungle right now for DMG in terms of control. There's that death cap you're talking about, the upgrade to the synchronized souls. Where's the symbiotic souls? I forget which way around it is for the boots in the inventory of Nemesis. They've nerfed it as much as you want. Nemesis still runs them for all of that map control. And it's just not getting any easier anytime soon. Soul on the line for LR in about a minute, and I suspect they'll be claiming it on the dot.
Yeah, I feel like right now, flashes are going to be very, very pivotal for DMG if they want to make a pick. I feel like Kamsky has been very pivotal for like a lot of the picks that DMG got earlier on. He does commit his flash, he does commit his ultimate, he tries to find plays, look for picks on the map. But right here, Kamsky not having that flash on Rel just makes it that much more difficult, right? And what we're talking about this is because of the range of all of those champions, the Azir, the Senna. It's just 2 champions that are so difficult to catch. Wukong, Jack, so slippery as well. You really do need that flash if you want to make an impact, if you want to throw Talia over top of that, get Cassante over in the backline. And right now it's just becoming really, really difficult for DMG to find those picks. What?
That's a Lichbane proc. Curtains are called.
I looked away for 1 second. I looked away for 1 second because I'm like, Talia's on the tower. It's fine. It's so fine.
They're going to jump onto this tier 2 now. Chance going to try and get a little bit of value. Needs to be a bit wary as Cadril comes on through and gives him another gift. Tries to go and stop him with the Pathmaker. Goes all out, drags him with the turret, but it's immediately interrupted by that Glacial Fissure. Fatesky coming on over, throws the thumbs up. My days. Chance nearly dies to some incidental soldier damage. Fatesky also similarly chunked Death Cap. You call it out. It's doing a massive chunk. He was on vision by a Farsight alteration. Velia's going to spot him, and that's a 3-level advantage. You don't win that one, Trundle. And Kamsky's going to have to leave his jungler out to die. Cyclone just a little bit shy. Flash away. Cadril debating flying over as well. Throws down a present. Merry Christmas! It's the middle of the summer. But Santa Braum don't care.
And here, LR, they're going to get a very important pick. It's the guy with the smite, right? I feel like Lulas was probably trying to find a way behind. Either get a pick or just hide. Potentially try to steal with the smite for the Mountain Soul. And now LR is just going to get that much more durable. Add Braum on top of that. Add a bunch of all the utility that Senna brings on top of that. Add Bows with another solo kill on top of that. And LR are just dominating the map.
And there's the Mountain Soul. Sure, Trundle can press R on someone. Maybe that will help a bit, but it doesn't feel like there is anything left in the tank for DMG, who are very much lacking their namesake right now.
All right. 10,000 gold lead for LR. Undying. Bot lane. Reckless and Cadril might be the new duo. You know, Crowny who? We've got Crowny at home.
He's not here, you know? That's it. Crowny got to be sweating a little bit here. It's looking good right now for LR. The Infinity Edge done for Reckless. Not going for any of that Black Cleaver nonsense. Raw damage from the center right now.
And that's going to get that much more difficult again. I have one thing in mind, and that's Kamsky's flash coming up in 7 seconds from now. But I feel like at this point, it's just so difficult. You do not have the damage. That Trundle has been stuck on that Trinity Force forever. That's a 3,000 gold lead in the jungle. A 3-level difference in the jungle. And it's just becoming so much more difficult to play those choke points, especially when Braum is there.
Trying to get a hold of Braum, but he's so damn tanky, they'll drag him all out, but he's still only lost a third of his HP bar. Kamsky about to die, doesn't quite. Nemesis shuffles Phantomisto over the wall. They finally bring down the Braum, but it's at the oust. The whole cost of the entire team. A triple kill over to Velia. Make it the Double over to Baus as well for the full house. And Los Ratonis take absolutely no prisoners. The coach, the owner, is avenged in very short order.
And I love how everyone scattered immediately right after this fight. You see Nemesis instantly bot lane to push that wave. Mid lane, Reckless, run back all the way down to the mid side of the map to push that wave forward. Baus over on the top side of the map, the air, literally. Here comes the Faker tempo TP as well from Nemesis. They're probably going to start Baron right after this.
No doubt that they will. Inhibitor already taken. Reckless sticks and gets another inhibitor turret. So one exposed, one down. It's only the bot lane that remains intact. And all the while, the Baron has been started. And at this point, I don't think it'll last all that long.
Reckless right there with the prize money triple auto. That was very much needed onto the Baron and LR. I feel like it's as easy as done right here. That is a 14,000 gold lead if I can do math correctly, which I think I can. No, maybe that's not.
I'm not going to try and do it because I will also get it wrong.
15,000 gold. No, that's a 15,000 gold lead. That was very close. You know. Let's watch it one more time. Kedro. They feel like they have caught him there, but this is Braum in a choke point. It's just so difficult. You see how the rest of DMG are finding it really awkward to just funnel through that choke point to get forward to do any damage. Then Phantom Mister gets caught by Nemesis on the side, and the rest of the DMG squad are just being zoned out by Baus.
And they all head on in, and Baus just whacks him for an insane amount of damage. The Lich Bane procs with Empower are really wild. We come back to life as Baus potentially in danger here. Does get shut down. Nice pick up with the subscape. Avelia now coming across onto Faith. Q flashes away. Cyclone comes on down. How much more can they get done? Nemesis now looking to slide on in. Just so across the Unraveled Earth. Dawning Shadow coming across keeps people a little bit healthy on the side of LR, and they lose an additional member of the Weaver's Wall coming on in because in the base. Look who's shoving. It's Reckless and Cadril. They're already taking turrets. Chance already low. And Phantomisto is just a phantom. A ghost in the rain, taken out in really short order. Reckless with the double on the fountain. They continue auto, shuffled off it. Even your fountain ain't safe to LR. Baus isn't alive to suicide to it. But Los Ratonis in 27 minutes put DMG to the sword.
Who knew that what we actually needed in the NLC is a literal world champion paired up with a guy who couldn't even make playoffs? Like, that's absolute cinema.
Look, there was nothing for him to cancel this game. Comes in and he's flashing over walls to contest Gromps as a support. You gotta love it. And I think in general, right, LR, don't lose a beat, switch out a member. Cadril comes in and smashes it. The whole team still look exactly as we remember LR to be. Georgia?
Yeah, I feel like it was actually fantastic how they played around Velia, right? Because we don't necessarily see a lot of them playing around Velia, but I think Velia was freaking fantastic. The extra level, the pressure that they used with the Braum in the jungle. Really great stuff coming through from LR.
It really is. But that's enough from us. Desk, break that one down. Cadril didn't seem to miss a beat, guys.
Not a single beat. The machine is all up. They know how to play this, and regardless of how you look into this, Reckless is still an amazing AD carry, and Cadril, he played professionally, so it's not like he's going to feed or anything like that. I think the team is just on a different level, no?
Yeah, I mean, he played really well. I think the Q accuracy was crazy. The Q flash for the dives early on was super good. I mean, they looked really good. I don't know what else there is to say. The team fights were great too.
I can't say I'm surprised. Okay. I feel like the core of Los Ratonis is still very much present, right?
Yeah.
I guess just kind of speaks to how easy the support role is to play. Balanced team.
Really? So instead of props, we're going to say the role is easy.
Yeah, the role is easy. No, I mean, at the end of the day, Cadril had a fantastic game regardless. But particularly, you know, hey, it was awesome to see Reckless also back on the center, right? I can't remember the exact end score that he eventually closed out that game with. I know he never died, which still, you know, it doesn't matter what role it is, right? That's always been the thing. The KDA must be preserved. And he was dishing out the damage too.
Before we get into like the clips, because this was a stomp, let's be real, this was a stomp. I just want to highlight and gas up Chance a little bit. That was a really good Cassandra performance. He also did some really innovative stuff into the Jax's mixed damage with the Aegis rush. I really liked that. So not to let that like fall by the wayside. I thought Chance had a really good game into Bowsy.
Yeah, we talked about him before. I do believe it makes sense. Chance is showing up to be really, really good top lane. Lula's, I think, he couldn't keep up with what Velia brought into this game as well. I think it was just a difference on the jungle, as we might look into these replays to learn a little bit more about what happened and dive into this game. Even though it's a 3-0 for the LR, there's always some things that we need to highlight.
Yeah. So is a gank, I believe, on Baus, but he has Phase Rush, and he just waddles away from the pillar that comes up here, and it's incredibly simple. It doesn't slow him because of Phase Rush, and he just gets on out of here. It doesn't even have to flash, and it's just Lula's trying to make plays. And on the other side, you have the cross map, and the decisiveness is what I really want to highlight. Kadril's Q flash onto the Jhin, just super nice, right? Gives no room to react, and Fateski falls.
Yeah, and I think just the snappiness of how quickly LR responded to what they saw on the top side of the map too. Given the fact that the bot side state was like that, you're gonna end up there anyway. But the fact that you get that additional layer of information of, hey, well, we know Lulas definitely isn't gonna be here for sure. It just makes the play even easier in the sense of knowing you can execute it, and you can execute it very, very fear-free.
Yeah, let's bring the other replay. Let's play them along as we go.
Yeah,
and
I
we
think
talk
so.
about what happened within the game. Yeah. Replay number 2 for this one. Tell me, Aragon.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not sure if this is the fight. I think this was a generic team fight where they tried to catch up Baus, who TPs onto the blue buff, but it's just one of those moments where it felt like the game was a win. I believe now what's going to happen is with all their vision control, Chance is going to try and face check, but this is what I was highlighting, right? I felt like Chance was really trying his best, but there wasn't much to do. He does W into danger a little bit here, but Kadril's on the front lines, trying to tank a bunch of damage, and it's not too great as Chance falls right there.
Yeah, and I mean, we highlighted it coming into this game about the draft, right? And how DMG wanted to really approach, and it wasn't necessarily front-to-back team fighting. And Senna and Azir are kind of the new generation. Well, Azir's been out for a decade now. Hopefully that doesn't make you feel too old, but, you know, that is the combo of... He's been out for a decade, yep. I know.
Okay.
But that is like quite literally the king and queen duo of front-to-back team fighting in my mind, where you've got bunch of utility and upfront damage out of the center, and then obviously DPS from the Azir, and compositions built around those cores typically are fantastic. DMG, we highlight, it's about pick, it's about realistically just playing like kind of overloads on skirmishes away from these big objectives or before they started. That was an example, obviously, where it didn't work out, and it was time and time again LR getting, you know, these picks instead of course, the other way around, the desired way for DMG to play the game.
Yeah, and just in the rest of these clips, the last one that's coming up now, both these last two rather, is Kadril flashing forward, playing the Braum aggressively. I think in the last one we're going to see is he has Mountain Soul, so he thinks he can do whatever he wants. He gets engaged on, tanks a bunch of ultimates and ends up dying, but you know, it's just confidence in his play to go forward with his knowledge that, you know, I have Mountain Soul, I can just go in, I'm not going to die, and we're going to win the fight probably anyway. It's pretty impressive to see, considering he probably hasn't played much League in a while, you know? You don't get much time anymore when you're coach to
the amount of co-streaming he does, playing League is not okay for him. Like, he doesn't have the time physically to do it. Yeah, there's a replay you were talking about.
In fairness, he was getting reps in kind of semi-recently. Maybe it was before MSI, though. That said, it was not on the support role, and it was a lot more mid and a lot more Akali, and I'm sure his viewers will be able to tell you about Kadril's Akali. But yeah, generally, very, very impressive, right? And this is one of those moments again, as Aragon's highlighted time now. It's, you know, positioning, soaking up abilities, and if you've been on socials, you'll see that Braum's getting nerfs very soon. Again, back to back.
Yeah, minus 12
armor at level 4.
Minus 12 armor at two patches in 2 patches, lost level 1 as well. That's just crazy, isn't it?
That's very silly. Yeah. This game might be why.
Oh, well, regardless to this team, give them an inch and they'll take your arm, your house, your everything. So you can't lose anything versus LR. But let's see how they're going to do it versus Verdant later on in the day. As we move forward from game 1 to game 2, we'll jump into a small break before we head on into pre-match. This is an important one, so don't skip a beat. I'll see you soon. Don't go anywhere.
data is everything. It's the building blocks of our world. It's our environment, our technology, how we communicate, create, and innovate. A single data point won't move the needle, but the more data points we connect, the further we can go. Because it turns out, the best way to forecast the future is to build it. So we did, and this is that mark. Engineered to embody innovation and defy limitation. Harnessing the unknown to reveal the future. This is the new SanDisk.
Verdant versus LLS. This is the second match. Eragon, Jamada, welcome back to the desk. We have to talk about this. Champion Select is going to be up soon. What can we expect from this match? Let's start introducing the teams, if perhaps we can, to talk about this match.
I know what Jamada's thinking. I thought I'm probably thinking this.
Hit me.
It's, look, we've got to be honest. You know, we've got to be honest. We've got to be hard-hitting. And I think the reality is that the percentage chance for LLS to win is quite low, right? I think the reality is that Verdant is likely coming in with like a 70+% chance to win.
70?
In terms of, yeah.
There's a way.
You think you're going higher? You're going higher?
I'm going higher. I'm going higher.
I was being generous, I guess. I could see it though. I think this roster's tremendously stacked. You've got names like Torre, you've got Senkooks in the mid lane. Like, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? Even SLT, I remember in the past, I believe in LEC, just a crazy amount of history on this team.
Yeah, my main concern is that top lane matchup actually.
Yeah.
Between Mac, between SLT, I do not feel like Mac had a particularly good showing last week. It was also kind of strange. I feel like in general, this light side team is a roster that really wants to play very traditional front to back, you know, utility and, you know, normal 2-item plus scaling through mid. Try and give Slice some comfort where you can get him on like the more carry oriented junglers. But that front to back, like, that is the main mantra, and we just didn't really get that out of their drafts last week. And I think that really disabled their ability to play the game. There was also the fact that Robespierre, I'm not going to say has a champion pool issue, but has a very, very big want to play enchanters, and that kind of made them maybe land in a spot they didn't want to, especially in that first game draft.
Yeah, and I will say, I think in terms of weaknesses, when it comes to Verdant, that maybe LLS can expose, that they're incredibly slow. They're gonna let you scale up, so maybe draft scaling into them, because even when they have early game compositions on the side of Verdant, they don't take all the opportunities presented to them. I remember significantly last week that was happening a lot. I'm just concerned like you in the top lane. I think we have a very off-meta top laner in Mac. For those who don't know, I think I said this earlier on, but Mac is one of the only Sejuani top players, for example, on EU Master Plus, right? So the top lane matchup, it might be a bit shaky in my opinion.
Okay, so you think the major concern on this match tipping towards Verdant is the top lane.
Yeah.
So what would be the saving grace for LLS? If you tell me like 70-30, there's a saving grace. Or else you need to fix the numbers.
I'm gonna fix the numbers.
Okay. Hey,
yeah, let's go
fair.
9-10.
Honesty.
Go 9-10.
10.
Yeah.
Jamada, does this look more in the range you were looking?
I was at 85-15, so yeah, it's about there. Here's the pick bands. We are here. We're present. We're ready.
Yep.
Pantheon,
I think
let's see
last
what
week,
else.
right,
Tell me.
significantly. Yeah, I mean, if you're a Sejuani top player, banning stuff like the Fiora versus SLT, I didn't think SLT was a Fiora player going by his OPGG, but maybe it's just like an anti-tank pick for Mac to not have to play into, especially considering, you know, he plays stuff like the Sejuani. That really strikes me as a target ban. The same with the Shen. Typically not a huge prior pick in professional play right now, because there's a lot of different reasons around why Shen isn't so great, but potentially a target ban towards SLT as well. So it really looks like they're setting up Mac here.
Yeah, there we go.
Or the other way around.
Talking,
That makes more sense.
I was talking with Legots, and I didn't want to bring it up just in case there was some kind of like, I'm ill, maybe I'm hallucinating things, right? I'm in the lobby, so I was like, pretty sure Verdant are on blue side.
That makes so much
more
more sense, because Matt playing Fiora last week and him being a funky tank player, I was like, what am I saying?
Yeah, just lose draft there for a second. I'm unsure what the issue is, but I'm sure it will get resolved relatively quickly.
You can keep us updated. You just told me that.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, everyone's already back in the lobby, so hopefully whatever the issue is has immediately been resolved and we can kick things back off. But once we get official word from Legots, from the voice squad, we'll of course let you know. But yeah, those are initial bans, nothing really too out of the ordinary, like you said. Fiora getting a little bit of respect, just kind of because, right, and Mac being a bit more of an off, I beg your pardon, off meta-ish player, just making sure that he's not on something too obtuse to catch off SLT, obviously. Is too
I think last time they did a Sejuani early rotation, which was a flex pick all the way down to R5, and they picked up Viego and then flexed the Sejuani top, and then they had like the Sejuani Viego pairing, which is pretty good topside, but it didn't work. I'm just saying, you know, for going forward into this draft, maybe they pick up that flex again. They were against LR, so it's not exactly a good read to judge a strength of comp versus.
But I also know you're not the biggest fan of that Viego, even though you're promoting it. See, I see that smile. I know you, Edagon.
Oh, I'm such a... Yo, I'd love your take, Jamada. I hate Viego, dude. I hate this champion.
See, that's being honest.
This Viego champion, I swear it does nothing. And it's like, if your team is winning already, if it already does its job, and then you add a Viego on top, it's like a cherry, you know? It's like a cherry on a cake. That's what Viego is to me. It's like you get that reset, and then you've already won the fight anyway. I think this champ contributes absolutely nothing. What do you think?
Jamada.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't... Look, I just feel like in a lot of games where it's winning, another carry jungler could probably do its job anyway.
Yeah. It's a lack of all trades, right? I think that's the...
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. A lack of all trades is definitely... definitely a good way to put it. Because, you know, the other carry junglers, they tend to kind of either offer more in like utility or even like in the thing that he kind of does well, which is damage. Obviously, that trade-off is lack of all trades, yes, but you get to potentially play every champion in the game. So that does potentially help. We're back in 2 pick and bans. First 3 bans, both sides the same. Another Azir first pick. It's up. Snapped away.
It looks like in the NLC we have a front-to-back Azir meta. It looks like that's really on the up and up, especially the last game with LR. They banned away Jarvan on the side of LLS, and that facilitates the immobile carries of that Mac just locked in right there with the Varus. And there's the Maokai denial for the Maokai composition with the Azir. So yeah, it looks like double front to back, very standard comp from LLS. We saw this a lot in the past, right? With stuff like Jace, Varus, Rumble, kind of compositions of Yone as well. Absolute classic.
Yeah, things that can control the tempo of the game, right? Especially around the objectives is where you tend to see.
It's
picks
very
like this
EU,
come
I
out.
think.
It is also very, very EU. We'll see if we end up getting that Yone pairing. And also if we end up just with a straight up Alistar blind. I think with the Varus and the Maokai, there is a lot of value in just slamming it here, even if you end up in a maybe unfavorable matchup in the actual lane itself. So this Rumble Hover from SLT, I mean, if it gets locked in, it's 3 very, very potent champions out of all 3 carry slots immediately.
With Rumble up, usually the best answer, in my opinion, is actually Galio. I think it's the best anti-Rumble champion that you have as an option, but very few top laners actually play it, and often people go towards champions like Sion into it as a potential option. I think these are probably the best picks. So we'll have a look rather, what Mac looks for as an answer into the Rumble later down the line, but in my opinion, that's what you should pick up. Hwei into the Azir, a classic. It outranges the Azir in lane, and generally as the game goes on, and you don't have a range issue there. And it's also a bit sketchy, because if Azir shuffles level 6, you know, the Hwei could get kidnapped and die to potential gank. So that's something Verdant could look for there.
But the range that LLS is building up so far, this is ridiculous. What else can you pin on the top lane that could be beneficial for this range?
I mean, for light side, I mean, even something like an ult right now would probably be very, very high yield.
So long range, isn't it? It's a ridiculous range gap. I think both teams need to engage. I think somehow we need to close the gap and potentially more range. So yeah, Ornn champion, Ornn ult would be fantastic for either team, I think, or rather into the Rumble. I completely agree with you, Jamato.
Yeah, I also just feel like in general, this is a much more uniform composition out of light side immediately compared to the first 2 that we got in week 1, right? Speaking about wanting front to back, wanting like slower games, control, it doesn't really get much more slow or control than things like Varus, Maokai, and then obviously the Hwei, which Bisgard is probably our best Hwei player throughout a lot of last split too. So happy to see that he has locked that one in, and Alistar moved away from light side. I did call that it could potentially be a Tory blind, and light side acknowledging that it would be pretty annoying to deal with here. And with Rel Nautilus also out,
Leona's the last one.
It raises the prio on Leona a lot.
Yeah, I think I wonder if we see like Leona
with double immobile.
Yeah. I think Braum also rises, right? We see Leona into Braum dynamic maybe, or we see like a Braum blind into so on, because I think Braum works well with both compositions right here. Works well with the Maokai and also with the Azir on the other side. So I wonder if we see that as more disengaged. But I feel like this is just going to be some kind of artillery battle this game, with a front line to create space to allow you to poke. The AP Maokai, the Varus, the Jhin, everyone in this game, the Equalizer is just so ridiculous. So I think finding some form of engage right now is really, really ideal. Jarvan's actually out. I was looking at that pick, but Bard into the immobiles, that's a really, really solid pick for Tori if he locks it in. I like that a lot.
Yeah, very versatile. A little bit hard to execute at times, but otherwise, you know, especially once you hit level 6, the amount of pressure you can have just by pressing R on those immobile carries and potentially forcing them to flash is very, very, very high. So let's see where Danka decides to go. There are still plenty of very frustrating champions to deal with. Even someone like a Brindle would be like super high yield value here. And there you go. Double tanks into Maokai. You know you're not going to be pressured. You can win a majority of the skirmishes everywhere on the map. And
I think you need
just
engage
comes down
now,
to
right?
the support. Yeah, I mean, again,
Nico, if you want the range, you got Leona. I think these are probably your best picks.
I think. Okay. I mean, whilst I feel like Rakan is definitely maybe one of the weaker answers, it still at the very least provides what the overall theme of what Lightside needed here out of this R5. I kind of would have maybe erred towards that Nico as you brought it up. It made a lot more sense to me too. But that is composition from Lightside. I still like the fact that thematically they're effectively running a front-to-back composition. I just fear that the overall damage is always going to be trumped by what Verdant have almost. So we'll see how they're able to, you know, kind of navigate around that. I think playing around this Varus in particular is going to be one of the easier paths out of that issue.
I think they could have drafted.
Tell me.
Yeah, I think they could have just drafted instead to win versus the Barden lane as well, but they kind of conceded lane with that Rakan lock-in. Also, Rakan, I feel like, doesn't provide as much actually solid engage, it's not reliable. It's more like follow-up. So I'm not a big fan of the final lock-in, and overall that composition outside of the Maokai ulti lacks a bit of engage for me. But again, it's going to be all about range and artillery here.
Yeah, when we have this sort of draft, a little bit different from the usual, do let me know what do you believe are expectations from draft to the beginning of the game?
In terms of like what I think is going to pan out, I think the summoners of carries on either side are going to be incredibly important, especially versus the Bard, right? The summoners of the Varus and the Hui are going to be important to keep track of throughout the game, because playing on those summoners with Bard up continuously, especially with the Trundle duo, what's going to happen is Trundle's going to press pillar, everyone's going to be slowed, and you're going to Bard ult, it's going to be free every single time. So I think that's really the crux of the composition, followed up with...
Yeah, that level 6 might be pivotal as we're about to toss it to the game, and that's why Initialize and Treble Link are going to take charge. Take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. To go. We're having a quick flashback to the desk just to make sure they're paying attention. Were you ready for that one? No, you weren't. You have to be ready for any given scenario. You just got to, you got to check they're okay. Georgia, seen the draft, seen what's coming forwards.
Or is it just me?
No, I heard Archrom doing something in the background there with some fun falsetto. Just to screw with us now, which is very reasonable. Two very different comps. We've got Trundle, Rumble, Zir, kind of lots of pick and burn and team fight on the other side. Hui, Varus, Maokai, be really obnoxious with all the zone control and poke.
I just really love how LLS are fighting range with range, because then you've got Jin, you've got Rumble. Jin really sets up nicely for Rumble to lay down his red carpet, and then LLS instantly responded with something that could be Lethality Varus, into poke from Maokai, into 3 miles range Hui that will be hitting you with spells. So I feel like for both Verdant and LLS, they've got such great compositions with so much range. I will say I'm leaning a little bit towards LLS's side. I do think that Varus is very, very oppressive when it comes to lane. I love the jungle setup with the Maokai as well, and I do like me some Hui when it goes to really, really late game. So depending on positioning right there, I feel like LLS have a really good front to back going off themselves.
And again, the problem is we have also got to turn nameplates on, because obviously there have been a couple of switches coming into this week for LLS. They've got to change the jungle, change the support. Coach coming into playing support in Jovian, and Nikolax, who you think you might have cast with, by the way, at some point in the Greek League, in the jungle as well, coming in for Slice.
I haven't cast with, but I remember one of my friends, the Rock7, who is now the main coach for KC Blue, actually had him in his Team Phantasma roster, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So
once upon a time,
is a very, very known jungler over in the Greek scene. He's played in so many teams, from like Wheel of Gaming to Team Phantasma. You guys will probably know this from like back all like EU Masters or EMEA Masters. Now he was coaching LLS and has to jump in.
See exactly how that goes. That might change things up again. Obviously, LLS had a pretty rough week 1, so maybe felt that there was some changes required. But hey, that's the way things are. On the other side, Verdant, actually pretty solid showing in week 1. Maybe a little slow to close out, but they came in and did a great job with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like especially when it comes to those two teams as well, particularly for LLS, like it's been a team where they keep bringing those rookies and those names, and I get very excited every single time for them. And they just don't hit the mark at the very important points. I'm gonna take us back over to spring, where they faced chaos, and suddenly Elijah couldn't play for them, so it really took a turn. Down south, they did manage to almost make it 3-2. It went all 5 games, but they just couldn't get past chaos over in spring. And I just really want to see them here, like, actually own the fact that they have more green players, new players coming into the scene. Like, I feel like a lot of times you talk to more experienced players, they'll tell you, play as if it was a scream. I feel like that's what I want to see from LLS coming into this one, because Verdant is no matter how many names have been changed for Verdant, Verdant always delivers with the rosters. I just want to see LLS play as if this was a script.
Yeah, and did get a little update. Thank you, Duckling, for finding us out. There was, in fact, a tweet put out by Lightside earlier this evening explaining what happened with the things. They're saying after difficulties we faced in week 1, we've had a lot of discussions with the team, how it's best to move forward heading to week 2 and playoffs. And they did say they'd be switching their starting jungler and support, but the game is ready. And there is that official statement to reckon with as we're coming on in. So not a substitute just for the week, but seeming like a permanent change. Then see exactly what this looks like here in week 2. Against relatively strong opposition here. Will likely be, or certainly competing to be, our second best team in the group behind the likes of Los Ratonis.
Yeah. I feel like Verdant, they've had a lot of weight, I think, on their backs, because back in spring, they were also in the group of Los Ratonis, and we really said that they were the main culprits to maybe put a spot on that spotless victory sheet that LR have, and they fell short of the task. Obviously, I apologize because Verdant will be playing LR in a couple games forward tonight, so we will get to see this one more time. However, I really want to speak about their roster because I felt like Verdant were really good in spring, but coming into summer, I feel like they actually upgraded the roster. I remember SLT, you remember him too, back from the Masters days of Vitality B, with the wins, the Renekton, the very adverse top-lane picks. And I feel like bringing in Torre as well, who played this tank before, having sort of that synergy with your support all over the map, could be really good for the team.
I mean, way back at the beginning of 21, he was on Team Vitality proper as well. He's had a fairly up and down career as SLT, but
we don't talk about that
at
one.
the Rumble. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest time. The Vitality solo lane situation for a few years was a bit of an interesting one, to be saying the least. Either way, see what he can do here. Into the K'Sante, can definitely bully early on between the Electro Harpoons shredding all that resist, and then just Rumble in general being really strong now with multiple different builds. You can Rift Make it, you can Leandries, you've got loads of different ways to decide to build, and it all feels like the end result is Rumble doing lots and lots of damage to people.
Yeah, I feel like this has been the case for the champion for a very long time, so I'm not sure if it's the build or just the champion. I'm leaning towards it's just the champion. Absolutely. When it comes to the two compositions, however, I want to speak about how both of them sort of operate. I feel like for Verdant, it's a very opportunistic comp that they have right here. There is no actual engage on the composition at all. I feel like they're going to rely very, very heavily in terms of like skirmishing between Danka and Torre. Torre later on maybe catching someone with an ult and then that being followed up by maybe a Rumble ult or a shuffle from Azir. Whilst I feel like for LLS, I feel like their life will be a little bit smoother when it comes to team fighting and setting up for those fights. You've got K'Sante, you've got Rakan, you've got Maokai. They're very easy set tools if you want to engage in a fight, and Verdant is very, very squishy on the other side.
Or even if they don't, they just want to sit back and just have the Hui and the Varus poke. You can just have all of your frontline stand in front and like, how does Verdant regularly get past that? Sure, you can throw an equalizer down, but how are you going to hold someone on top of it? Your CC, as you said, very limited. And you've still got to get through the minefield of saplings and K'Sante standing in front of you and Rakan disengaging and big angry fireball that makes you scared coming out of Bizguards. You know, Way with his ability to paint scary fireballs. You know, he's got to be very afraid of that.
And I feel like this is the time for Verdant to prove that they've got better hands, right? Because I feel like right here, LLS will have a much smoother, again, time around the fights as we talked about. But I feel like for Verdant, it has been a case, even back in spring, where they were like, okay, we might not have the optimal composition, but we will outhand our opponents, right? And they were doing that back to back to back. However, back then it was Shiganari that was doing a lot of the heavy lifting down in that bot lane. And Devon now, with that Jhin, is going to have to prove that he can do that too.
And again, week one was a pretty good showing from Verdant, all things said. As we said, Senkux in particular, oh my days, that second game, he put out some impressive numbers, to say the least. It was 10-1 and 10. I think by the end of it was some seriously nasty binary scoreline. Doing his very best to show up again here. One of the few remaining members on Verdant doing some serious work. Of course, on an Azir, another player who has had his time up in LEC and beyond, was on that Splice roster way back when with the likes of Wonder and Mickey X. And Hovet, of course, as well, for those who remember that one. Now in the NLC, for a couple of years actually, on and off. Looking to be one of our better carries here and match up to the likes of Nemesis and crew, who have been very dominant in the mid lane as it stands, teleporting back in early with the recurve bow. Always feel good on the edge here to get a bit more attack speed, building towards that early Nash's Tooth. Bit of a fight happening though as Nicolex went for an invade, but there's lots of members of Verdant here looking to punish him for it. There's the pillar afterwards, and you've got enough CC to bring them out. Don't flash on it for the heal. Is that enough? Flash forward, Chop comes on down. Jovian needs to hop away with the grand entrance, nearly enough to keep the Maokai alive, but alas, not to be.
Yeah, I feel like there's a little bit greedy from Nicolex right there. To sneak in, like Senkux was around, you had Danka around, Torre was also roaming up, so he actually got pinched between three Verdant members, had to commit his flash very early on, so then there was really no way out of that one, even though Jovian had a fantastic roam right there, had to commit both his summoners actually, to also try and save the tree. Wasn't really the case, so the jungle support, the Greek duo, didn't necessarily come through right there, and Verdant with a pretty significantly positive skirmish, right? Because they do get the dragon after this as well, and they find themselves about 1,000 gold in the lead.
Look, all I'm asking, Trouble, is obviously they brought in the 2 Greeks. Is that enough to buy your loyalty? Have you decided that you are now a light side stan as a result of this?
Well, I have known Nicolex for quite a while.
Well, that's true. Is that all it takes? Just have no trouble for a while.
Hey guys, this guy comes from the same country as me. I'm not even the competitive scene. Why not? You know?
Even over in the Nordics, even over in the UK, Georgia, still going to show a bit of Greek pride. Gotta love it. Bisgard might be a little bit of risk there as Toro was around. Gets hit by the Cosmic Binding, not quite into the corner of that wall. Needs to be a bit wary here. That bar just sticky around. Not going to turn too much more, though. Instead, Jovian will throw a gleaming quill at him and say that was very rude of you, and leave.
I feel like this is where the swaps start coming through, right? Especially when the first dragon goes down and you haven't really committed any of the summoners. Of course, Devon and Tor are going to head towards the top side of the map, trying to get a bit of control, and we're going to have most likely a fight around those void grabs. Now, something that teams have been slowly but surely been picking up on, and especially through MSI and everything, is that you do not need to stay around the area for 3 void grabs. I think 3 void grabs is the biggest greed of the century. You grab your 2 if you can, and then you back out. It saves you time, you get the tick on the feats of strength as well, and you can get to reset, grab your money, grab your wards, and move on to the other side. I feel like getting 3, unless it's like really, really free, is a big greedy move, so we'll see how Verdant and LLS are going to choose to play around that.
We'll see how it goes from there. Of course, Bisgard here on the way. Could be really noxious. Last split, of course, was on DMG when he managed to get a pentakill on the champion. It's doing really good work. Actually, came through DMG's academy system. So came on through all of that kind of Nordic grassroots scene. Has left the org and his grassroots, going on to new things in another Nordic organisation. Obviously a Swedish one in the light side, looking to get a little bit of vengeance here. As a Danish player as well, been in the wrong countries, you know, not on a Danish squad. Nice little engage there from Jovian. Hops back away with the battle dance. But Grub's being started. Danka gets a hold of the one, backs away, but in comes the Nature's Grasp alongside that spiraling despair, and that Trundle is not having very much fun. Just about survives for a second or two, Subjugate offering enough. And gets out alive. Just the one grub taken. Bisgard now potentially in danger as Senkux slides on floorwards. In comes the magical journey angler. Senkux does slide Bisgard away, but how much further? The fire comes on down into the spire. The severing bolt has to flash on out of the comet and stays alive, but my days, the health bar's got low.
Yeah, mid-jungle are out from the side of Verdant, which means these are some pretty free, juicy void grubs for the side of LLS, which is very important for them, right? We said how their team fights are going to look easier, it's going to look better. They've got the engaged tools on their side, but also taking those neutral objectives are going to be very, very important. One void grub was all Verdant could salvage right here by Danka starting a little bit too early. But again, you can see the ease of execution when they walk into the river. Got Bisgard on one side, Nicolex just throws down the ult, and you just play on the engage tools.
On the side, of course, they've got bits of pick, right? You could land a good Cosmic Binding, a land a good Deadly Flourish, maybe there's a great Pillar, or Senkux finds the wonderful Slide and Glide. You've got ways, but it's not simple. It's not a Leona or an Alistair. And that can prove a little problematic, especially if they're the ones having to fight their way into the river, and suddenly there's a Maokai ult flying at you, or Cassante shoving you through a wall, or Rakan's flash from out of vision. There's lots of tools to punish that, especially if Verdant do kind of lose control of the map, or vision begins to slip here and there. Still, as it stands, early 1,000 or so gold lead to Verdant, largely off the initial kill, and good laning stats. You can see some decent CS numbers in a lot of places, though credit over to Bisgard where it is due, actually laning very well on the way right now into that Azir.
Yeah, and very importantly, there's a bunch of flashes that are missing from the side of Verdant, right?
Yeah,
I'm looking at the Dragon. 50 seconds from now, I feel like Verdant should definitely be looking to attack stacking those Dragons up so they can fight in their own terms later on. But right here, I'm looking at the Azir not having flash available, getting bullied by Bisgard onto this way. I feel like Senkux might definitely be a target for LLS in the fight to come. Jovian also very equipped with the exhaust coming through in case SLT joins that fight, does have that teleport. You really turn down the damage onto the Rumble once that exhaust is on. So I feel like LLS have a pretty good setup moving on to the next Dragon in about 20 seconds.
I'm just going to shout out there. It's a bit nightmare fuel out there for junglers right now with all these spell books running around. The amount of extra smites from supports on things like Rakan and Bard that can just turn up in a pit on the blink of an eye with a basic ability gets really annoying to track. Might be something they could look for there, see exactly how it all plays out. It is Lightside who will likely be in the river first. They've also got just an absolute line of wards littering the enemy jungle all the way around the back of the pit as well. They know exactly where Danker is and exactly where Verdant are right now. The first ward finally cleared out by a control ward, but no easy feat now. Bizguard actually not that bothered yet, but Danker's going to walk in and makes him fear with the devastating fire. Bizguard eats a lot of damage from the soldiers, though. May need to back away. Has got a TP, gets a severing bolt onto Danker, who needs to back away now.
Very importantly here, Trundle being chunked down very, very heavily. Has to use the smite as well right there. No subjugate, which means that LLS have pretty much won this fight. And Bizguard, like, his blood must have run cold in his veins because he was just not moving, not flashing. Now, Verdant moving back into this river. Golden Penny might be a little bit zoned out right there from Toro onto this Bard. Bards cannot join LLS. That might be a problem.
Could be a bit problematic, but the Severing Bolt's beginning to fly. Bizguard's TP back in. Toro coming into the backline, looking to find an angle. Gets the Tempered Fate onto the jungler, so the Dragon now secure. Chains of Corruption land onto Segos, who goes sliding in and gets a hold of Golden Penny. The Hail of Arrows won't bring down the Azir. Gets to stay alive. Jovian goes into the backside with the quickness, but doesn't get all that much value. Will battle dance into the quickness and Grand Entrance to get a bit of value, at least onto that Bard. But everyone's still continuing to chase. The Kurtz calls came on through. A 2-for-1 in favor right now of Verdant, who get on top of Nicolex, who will try and twist and advance forwards, but it means very little as a double kill goes towards Devon.
So it started with a very favorable trade towards LLS because Bizguard did have his teleport available to rejoin after they chunked each other out. But I feel like LLS right there were very greedy. Look onto the Cassante. He has no teleport to join. It's all about the front to back. You mentioned it earlier. You've got Cassante and your Maokai wreaking havoc in the front line, and then you've got your backline constantly throwing spells out. But Golden Penny is out of position. Torres slides into the backline. The stasis onto Nicolex that doesn't allow him to even play for the 50-50 smite. And Verdant got whatever they came for, which was starting to stack those dragons. Second dragon's gonna go their way. They grabbed a bunch of kills out of that. They managed to push that mid lane with Senkax getting back to mid lane while they're chasing our remaining members of LLS, and pretty much everything went Verdant's way.
And look, the chase and the, the CC might be a little limited for Verdant, but it landed just fine there on the chase. 2-0-2 now is the Trundle. Really strong on the current patch, seeing a lot of junglers all over the world at all levels of play. First pick it, counter pick it, just pick it in general. Lots of value there. Nicolex, though, now in danger on his Raptors. Gets caught behind the pillar. Bizguard coming on over. The Nature Scraps comes on down. Spiraling Despair onto Danker. Tempered Fate, though, buys time for Danker. Q3 comes on through, looking to go all out. Now the Cassante's here. Jovian coming on over. Danker in danger, gets knocked up, and will likely go down. A shutdown going on over as they pick up two Lightside, punishing the invade onto the Raptors.
Yeah, that's a little bit too deep. However, look on the top side of the map. Senkex with 4 turret platings to his name. An entire tower taken down. Matt does not have his ultimate. Senkex gets to spawn the next tower. So they do sacrifice too, but they gain more control in terms of the map. Again, I feel like Verdant have to take those more aggressive approaches, if you will, to the jungle. Because through those choke points, I feel like is their only chance of catching someone off of LLS when it's more of like a close quarters kind of skirmish. So I don't blame them for trying to play a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more deep. However, 10-20 seconds for the next Rift Herald, which is coming up. Bard ult is going to be down. We're looking at Trundle ult, which is most likely going to be down as well. These are 2 really big ultimates down, as well as for LLS as well, right? No Maokai, no Hui, no Cassante ult.
Yeah.
So this Rift Herald could be of big contention because big ultimates are missing currently.
Also worth noting, because of that turret going down, that got the feat of strength of Verdant. They already had the feat of warfare from the first 3 kills. Getting that first brick as well earned them the upgraded boots. And when you're looking to get as much value here in this part of the game as you can, accelerate as fast as you can, that looks pretty good to me. Head on over towards that Herald with all of those ultimate advantages you were talking about and try and start this one up. Nicolex will have ult soon-ish, but I think it will be a little too little, a little too late. Maybe they will look to contest around this dragon spawning about a minute or so later instead.
Yeah, I feel like the most important part is that Senkax took the tower top side of the map, right? So you don't really have anywhere to fall back onto if you are LS. So they decided to put their hands up, let that one go over to the side of Verdant. 130 is the next dragon. I feel like this is what they're going to have their eyes to. But currently, they do have their eyes on SLT as well.
They equalised the way, but had to step quite a long way forward to make it happen. Gets charmed and knocked up with the grand entrance of the quickness, and Golden Penny comes on over and gets the kill as well. SLT tried to stay safe, but was not respectful enough. Mac now going to get CC'd on the other side, looking to trade top lane over top lane. It may not be the lane swap meta anymore, but you can still look to punish tops. But Mac just about gets to walk away.
Yeah, and that was a lot of stuff thrown at him, right? The subjugate, the Q coming through from the Bard, the pillar, the Azir, and they still couldn't take that Cassandra down. That was 3 versus 1. However, they managed to take that tower down. So this will be a Rift Herald for Verdant. This will be a second tower over on the top side of the map. Pressure over in the mid lane by Devon. They're going to have the Rift Herald to actually put down, to potentially pressure even that mid, and then deep into the river to go for the next dragon, which again is going to be so point if they do manage to secure that one for themselves.
Looks to be the case. 2-0 is this Jhin at this point, looking pretty good. 2-1 on the Trundle. You're in a really good spot. It's 20 seconds until that dragon comes. Torre goes looking for a pick onto Golden Penny. Will delay the reset at least here. Down now. One of those limited bits of CC that we were talking about. Can look to try and interrupt us a little bit further. Golden Penny still not be able to get the reset. Well, magical journey back towards his turret. TP's now coming on through.
He can't.
Not willing to throw the ult down there to get a catch, and they'll start the dragon up here with Golden Penny resetting very, very late indeed.
Oh, I was actually thinking, don't reset. It's just a Warhammer that he got in his inventory, but half HP, missing mana, that was really, really problematic. You also don't have Chain of Corruption, right? So right here, LLS, I think, again, are going to throw their hands up in the air, let that one go, but in 5 minutes' time, you cannot do this anymore. It's going to be soul point. Mountain Soul as well for Verdant would be huge. Nice dodge right there with the flash from Biscard. They're going to exchange ults. One of them is going to force the flash, though, onto Biscard, so that is a target for the next fight to come for Verdant.
Yeah, really valuable flash to earn there. Biscard, pretty key here on this way. A large part of the poke. He's one of the few members who's got a very minor gold lead in the game for the side of Lightside. It's only 1,000 or gold that Verdant are ahead, but then you look at the objectives and you see the 3 dragons and the grub and the feat of strength, and you kind of raise a bit more of an eyebrow. Definitely a little bit scarier when you consider that. But again, Lightside not exactly out of this game yet. Going to push people back and go all out is Mac, but now the equalizer comes on down, especially with all those resists gone. Danke here will begin to subjugate and stop chomping onto that Cassante a little bit more, and Mac just goes too far.
Yeah, I mean, the old kind of gives up a lot of the resistances, then Trundle forces a few more of them to go away as well. So. Actually, the funny thing is, like, there is an item called Blighting Jewel.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it. Yeah.
Which takes away your MR with every tick, right?
So that's
technically champions that have a dot that ticks all the time, you end up with minus MR. So that's how I felt like for this Cassandra, right? It's like, hey, I'll press my ult, I'll get less resistances. Wait, I got Trundle ulted as well. I've got nothing. I'm in the minus.
Well, Trundle's got Trinity Force and the ability to chomp on turrets. He might be a jungle Trundle, but the ability to chomp on those, courtesy of a change of patch or two ago, still gives you the ability to just delete towers.
The TP?
Given a moment or two. They are TPing. How many members? It's just the way. I don't know how easy this will be. SLT low, potentially in danger. If they can find a good combo, Dan can flash on out the Crushing Maw. Electro Harpoon will force a slow. Second one comes on through, Spiraling Despair, flashed away from. But SLT survives, and they do claim the tier 2 at the cost of these top jungle flashes.
Actually, that's pretty huge. That was 1 teleport and 1 ult committed by Biscard. Takes both Trundle and that Rumble ultimate right here. And we're looking at most likely Atakan on the bot side of the map. So there's a lot of bot side roaming that we're going to see from both of the teams. Both of the objectives are going to be towards that side of the map for the next minutes to come. 10 seconds for the Atakan, 240 for the next dragon. Again, it's going to be Soul for Verdant, and Mountain Soul is going to be huge because they do not have a lot of front line, so those extra shields are going to be very important for Verdant to play around those team fights. And I'm just going to take a little bit of a track of what's inside those inventories. Double item for Biscard, same for Senkax, and we have double items for those 80 carries down the bottom as well. Not necessarily already completed for the side of Devon, but very close to as well. So importantly as well, the Trundle coming now with the Spirit Visage, a lot of healing coming through. He is going to be primarily the only front line that this Verdant lineup has for the time being. Most importantly, who are the targets? Wei, no flash as Torre. He's been looked at.
got dragged along in a magical journey with nature's grasp. Sorry, the twisted advance coming on through, conflating the W and the ultimate. It's a habit of mine with Maokai. The Comet nearly brought Torre low. That was some dodgy star signs up there. Someone read his horoscope.
Hey, his horoscope says that he might as well go through that really tough time, but he's going to come out the other side, you know?
Yeah, Faris
he's going to find the light at the end of the tunnel. He found it. He didn't die, so he's already good enough. Senkax setting up the tower to get some pressure down that bot lane. Again, both teams are going to play ping pong, basically, with the waves to try and establish some vision inside that bot side river. I feel like right now, it's going to be a fight that determines who takes Atakan and Dragon, and LLS cannot let that go over to the side of
Dragon. Hang on.
Excuse me?
Mac got burned absolutely out here. Second Haunting Guys coming in. The double masks doing a lot of burn there. Got a lot of work. The equalizer down. Mac does hold on to his flash. His TP is ult though. And if he can reset here, could theoretically turn up. Saplings burned away all the while though. Look what's happening. Atakan going on down. Farsight alteration comes on down. Will likely still die here. Look at the collapse coming on forwards. Torre going to need to try and tempered fate the jungler as they come on forwards. Prevent that smite availability. Where is it? Goes on down. Lands onto Bizguard. Nature's Grass comes on forwards. Nicolek's not found a way in as yet. Atakan already secured. The TP comes on through, but it's too little, it's too late. Mac now potentially looking, but again, no real angle. And Verdant don't even need to find CC because he just killed the objective too fast.
They have to walk back in though. 20 seconds for the next Dragon, and Verdant are definitely going to look for that one. Bot lane's been pushed out by Verdant. Mid lane's been pushed out by Verdant. No one is actually controlling those waves from the side of LLS, and Verdant are taking towers consistently for free. And that's what we talked about when we were like, hey, Verdant coming into this series are the better team when it comes to macro, when it comes to playing those team fights, and LLS are being put on a spot right here. This is going to be soul for Verdant, and LLS are looking to stop that.
I mean, that 1,000 gold lead has ballooned to 4 over the last few minutes with some really good play. Danker's got a blast cone. Could look to play as one. The curtain's called, looking to make sure that LLS are forced to take an untimely bow here. Sapling comes on down. Watch Danker with that blast cone. Could look to get into the pit still. 1, 2, smite bites! It's won by Nicolex down to 900 HP. It was a close one. Gonna try and get dragged all out, but a flash on out for Torre buys some time. Senkox getting damage on the Golden Penny. Won't lead to all that much. LLS need to extract, need to get out. Burning down as the flame spinner comes on through. Tempered Fate on 3. It's deadly enough. They flash on out. The CC lack beginning to prove a little problematic as LLS are just able to sort of walk slowly away. SLT now in danger as Nature's Grass comes on through. All out. They bring down the mech. And now Mac continue to hunt for a little bit more. Verdant in danger as they're being run at. Need to escape. Half HP. Jovian spared up there with the quickness. Can't quite get in range. Bizguard potentially able to throw out some severing bolts if he can prove to be an artillery piece. Won't do so. Verdant lose a member and the Dragon. A little bit awkward for them there on trying to contest for the soul.
I mean, we talked about how difficult it is for them to start team fighting, right? Especially since they didn't have the equalizer at the very beginning of this. They also didn't have the Bard ult, so it becomes a little bit sketchy to try and close the gap because there's so much range coming from the side of LLS that without those engaged tools, it just becomes even more infinitely difficult for Verdant to actually find picks and CC them down. However, for LLS, I would say I thought this was going to be a one fight for them. I felt like they were a little bit indecisive, not necessarily on the same pace. They didn't pressure Verdant enough right there. And now second and third almost items are starting to come through from the sort of Verdant. This is not going to get any easier because Azir scaling, you've got Rumble scaling as well. There's a lot of damage coming through from this side of Verdant. And the only saving grace is that LLS did manage to steal that Dragon away and won themselves another 3 minutes.
Well, look, don't get me wrong. The comp of LS in terms of like conceptually scales pretty well as Maokai saplings become more and more obnoxious, as Wei, who does scale pretty well just on an individual level, gets more and more items. The Pharah starts to hit squishy people like Azir notoriously hates poke. He's got the Riftmaker to try and help mitigate that somewhat, and I don't blame him. And again, that lack of CC does prove to be a little bit, I don't know, nebulous in terms of matching scaling there. I get that that will be a problem, but you're right, you know, this Azir is a problem. The Rumble is a problem. You're kind of just making this challenging as Baron now spawns. Verdant thinking of threatening around it, at least pulling LS towards it. Certainly looking for vision control at the very least.
Absolutely, they do have the power to pretty much melt Baron down super quickly. Trundle, Azir, Rumble really, really melt down that Baron. Again, it's not going to be that easy, especially with all members of LLS out and about, and especially alive. So right here for Verdant, I feel like it's going to start getting harder from here on out because, again, they do not have the tools. to make those fights happen, they need to play around the ability of Tor to catch someone with that Bard ult, or maybe potentially a Q landing onto someone, trying to scout from the side of LLS, but picks are going to be the most important tool for Verdant if they want to advance forward.
Danker goes looking. Can't find too much there on a Jovian. Again, very slippery on this Rakan with a Battle Dance. Will chomp and get a bit of value. Backsteps the Grand Entrance. Tempered Fate. Backstep from it now. Biscard potentially in danger. Caught on top of the Equalizer. Burns all his HP. The Way will be painting his own death certificate. A bit morbid though it may be. Chains of Corruption come on top alongside the Nature's Grasp, but they just lost their support. They just lost their mid laner. And now with the 2-man advantage, they can return straight back to the big purple worm.
I think like Verdant just walked them down. They just walked up to them. Just started with the flamethrower, Jhin with the ult, then Bard followed along. And it just felt like a damage fest from the side of Verdant that Biscard unfortunately could not avoid because he didn't have his flash available. We said he was most likely going to be the next target for the side of LLS, and it's going to be a pretty free Baron. Let's watch this one more time. The pillar was fantastically placed together with the Bard ult, so you have to walk forward into the pillar to avoid getting stuck into the Bard ult. And that's exactly what happened to the 2 members that paid the price with their lives from the side of LLS.
Now this is here, has a death cap. Not getting any weaker anytime soon. 6,000 gold plus at this point for Verdant ahead. They've got a minute or so until Mountain Soul again on the table for them. The last moment that really felt like LLS had anything resembling a good play. Despite the compositional complexities, maybe that's the nice way of putting it, the challenges Verdant have with making sure picks stick, they still managed to walk at Biscard, who's finally got his flash back, by the way. Maybe valuable coming up to this Dragon fight, because again, giving up Mountain Soul on top of everything else, yeah, that really will be lights out for light side then.
Yeah, however, this is a 6,000 gold lead, right? And there's a 3-item Azir in the hands of Senkak, so...
Nice cheap
right
items
now,
here, a death cap, Ashes, notoriously cheap.
Very, Rift Maker, very cheap. Nicolas gonna have to ult, he's gonna have to flash, he's gonna have to smite, he's literally pressed all the buttons that you can see around his portrait on the top right, so I don't think there's gonna be any contest coming anytime soon from the side of LLS. That Maokai ult is one of your bigger tools to actually start fights, so Verdant are gonna use that Baron to create pressure through mid lane and bot lane, to then bleed that pressure inside the jungle as we saw, and then secure themselves the soul, which is gonna make them that much more durable, since all they have to actually make these fights work is pretty much fist fighting. They're just walking up to LLS and just damage testing them.
Looking pretty tricky indeed. Ooh, Tempered Fate just came out, went wide, but they're going to get a hold of this turret regardless. Now Nicolex potentially in danger. Crushing more, buys some time. SLT hit with the Spire and the Step. It's gone to flash out. Nicolex is burned. Cinderwood, charcoal. Take your pick. Danker keeps walking on forwards. Chomps and bonks. And another soldier slides on forwards as the Emperor of the Sands turns the rest of them to dust. Torre flashes away. Another shovel back from Senkak, who does get a little bit wide on that one, but the rest of LLS, despite all of the showings, all of the potential with this composition, just can't stand and deliver when it matters the most. The base broken into, and Verdant will move to 3-0 in the group.
Verdant solidifying themselves in the top of the group together with Los Ratonis as they take down LLS here and put themselves on a 3-0. And I'm getting deja vu. I'm getting flashbacks from spring, right? Verdant, Los Ratonis again in the same group. Verdant, Los Ratonis again 3-0. And finally, they have to meet each other in 2 game time from now. And this is going to be the big fight for first.
It really will be. Maybe with Verdant actually playing quite well and Cadril coming in to support as a kind of substitute in on the last minute. Maybe
I believe that's still going to be the case. For
Look,
that
I'm saying, me and Jamada in the predictions, we put it out there as a kind of like, you know, if it was ever going to happen, maybe this is it. George, you look so unimpressed by that.
Because I know that Ground is coming back.
Too true, too true. Georgia, thoughts on this game before we start handing over the desk?
Yeah, I'm just a little bit disappointed in LLS. I just wanted them to punch more, right? I know they had a few troubles with having to switch 2 players around, right? And they were playing with one of their coaches as well. But I just felt like the decision-making wasn't there. And I'm always such a big fan of LLS. And I'm always left wondering the what-ifs.
Yeah, we like the composition, we like the concept, but the delivery wasn't quite there. Verdant go for a much more tricky to execute composition, a little lower on the CC front. Doesn't matter, they still look convincing in walking their way to a 3-0 victory. Desk, your thoughts on that one?
It's a 3-0 for Verdant, but at the end of the day, only one of these teams will be able to get the clean sweep. It's going to be LR or Verdant to talk about this. Aragon and Jamada, we need to understand what happened during this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very FlyQuesty comp. They love this Trundle Bard duo. I really, really like what they did, playing off the pillar slows. And in general, I mean, my eyes went Torre. His Bard was great.
Yeah, like I said, right? It's one of those picks where you see it and typically it either does incredibly well or it just looks completely useless. But Torre was kind of, I'm not even gonna say kind of, he was very 1v9 in that game. There was a lot of things that he was doing that were just making the lives of the other side just so frustrating to deal with basically at every single juncture that he could. And I like this as well, the damage on kills.
Damage on kills?
Yeah, we have the functionality for, you can see, particularly jungle, right? So much damage done out by this Trundle on those kills.
I'm just soaking this in. I'm learning.
Yeah, I've never. Yeah, it's super nice.
I'm adapting. This was you, wasn't it, Jamada? You asked for this, didn't you?
So I'm not gonna say it was me. I asked for it, but I saw it on the MSI broadcast. If I'm to properly give credit, I want to say it was actually the LTA North stats guy that was the person specifically. So shout out. I want to say it's Leo is his name. Put that there, and I saw it. I was like, we could use this here too. This is a really awesome functionality. Okay. So yeah, damage on kills. Like I was saying, Trundle doing a lot of work there.
Yeah, and I put together a little montage of Torre plays because I think Torre's Bard deserves a little shout out. I thought it was pretty good. It's missing one little play in the early where they avoided the gank by going in outgrip and portaling out. But the initial Drake fight, followed by him being a better jungler than anyone in the game with the smite on support was pretty great too. I mean, this was the first initial team fight where you're going to see Torre portal in, I believe, and land a nice ulti plus a 2-man stun.
Yeah, he made a montage in one singular game.
Yeah.
I don't really know what else to say. Like, typically, these are the kind of clips that you see in those, like, funny, like, Chinese TikToks, pretty much.
Yeah.
But we've got, like, 3 or 4 of them all in the same game. Torre, just fantastic, right? Whether it was Tempered Fates, whether it was Spellbook Smites, you'll get to see it all over the course of this package. We come in and out for it. Yeah, really fantastic game from Torre overall.
Yeah.
So Torre is the best jungler support. Is that what
the
you
best jungler on both teams? I feel
the best I think I saw support. That if we were still in that season where all of the supports became junglers and vice versa, Torre would probably be one of the better performers.
What season was that? Am I just misremembering?
You must do you not remember there was a season where everyone became a jungler? We had like Whippo in jungle. Treats became a jungler.
Okay.
Yeah. You know,
Torre meant there was like an in-game mechanic that I was forgetting. No, but yeah, I mean, it's just Torre. Like, again, a smite steal.
This is not okay.
He just walks away. He just walks away from the blue buff and takes it. Versus smite with Q on Maokai. He has Q smite. I was like, really? All right. And then there's another camp steal, I believe. If we queue that one up real quick, we got another camp steal. And I'm just highlighting the extremity of how many times he does this in this game. It's just silly, really, isn't it?
But when you look into this, even though we're highlighting Torre and all that, when you look into this game from Verdant, they would, again, slow. And even though the comp required it to be slow, when you put them face-to-face versus rats, are they capable? And this is more to you, Jamada, because you voted for
I mean,
Verdant.
Look, if I'm just being very candid and honest, this is not like the highest discipline game that we've seen out of Verdant this split so far. So if this is how they're playing today, then yeah, I'm going to lean towards no. But I do feel like they do have it in them to, at the very least, make themselves look like a far more formidable opponent than what we just saw out of them versus Lightside. And they're going to need to show that against that Los Ratonis lineup later on.
But it's still not that game. And before you start this one, Eragon, we have to cut short because we have to do a bigger pause right now. And I need to tell you all back at home, we're going to cut it short right now. So we fix a few things and we'll be right back as soon as possible, clean and crispy. So don't go anywhere, Eragon. After we start the break, you can talk. Break the stream.